Hello and welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your host Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, I'm trying. This is the start of our new year.
Mm-hmm.
Not technically. I mean,
our new year starts in April.
In a couple days. Yeah.
But
our new cycle starts in April, right? But new year, new us. Trying to throw down the energy. We're excited about this. We're going to be doing a top 8 debate today.
Yeah, sounds good. We're starting our new cycle for January. So happy New Year to all our listeners out there.
That's right.
Hope you guys had a wonderful holiday season. How was your holiday season?
It was good. Very, very interesting. So, one thing that was kind of funny. So, technically, my wife bought me a board game.
Shocking.
Technically. It's a one-time use board game that I completed on the day of Christmas. A couple hours later. That was absolutely lovely. And I had a moral dilemma for a bit. Because I spent time with a mutual friend of ours. Mm-hmm. And he came over for Christmas. And he likes escape rooms. This is essentially an escape room in a box, right?
Well, you guys have an escape room business together. So.
Right, exactly. So, like, a lot of the escape rooms I do, he does too, mm-hmm. right? And if we don't do it together, this is intended for one. It's Box 2 by Neil Patrick Harris, right?
Oh, yeah, Theory
11.
Theory 11, yeah.
And so, she got me that, and I played it, and great components, fun time. I enjoyed myself a lot.
I really enjoyed Box 1. I'm glad I told you that they had Box 2 there.
I will tell you, I mean, without any spoilers or anything, I don't think it's as good, but it does a different enough stuff. But when you eventually see it, because I'll probably lend it to you.
Yeah, that's how I would play Box 1.
Yeah,
so.
I'll probably lend it to you once our friend's done with it. What it does, the components that are involved in it, they ramped it up even more. Because already Box 1 was like hugely great components.
Yeah.
This stepped it up a little bit.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah, it's good. And so one of the funny things about it, though, is when I finished it, I was like, man, I really want my friend to see this. Like, he's got to give this a try. And I thought about giving it to him, or lending it to him that day. Mm-hmm. But then I realized, like, wait, my wife literally just gave this to me, and I unwrapped it about 4 hours ago. Would that be inconsiderate of me to lend it to a friend of mine?
Yeah.
I've already beaten it, right? So it's like, it's done. It's a one and done. But is that morally, like, compromising? Like, right. Like, is that something you would do? I don't know.
Probably not. But
Probably not.
I didn't have enough time to play games on Christmas Day. I was literally driving home.
Oh, sure. But, like, if given my circumstance, if your wife bought you a one-time escape room-like style board game, you played it that day because you were super excited about it, would you lend it to somebody that day?
I don't know.
It's a sticky wicket, isn't it?
Yeah, well, mind you, I don't see a lot of people on the actual day, so I don't have people coming over to my house.
But again, given my circumstances, would you have?
No, because I'm not you.
Yeah, and I ended up not doing it. I gave it to him a few days later to try out. But either way, that was part of my excitement. So yeah, we'll see what we can. What about your holidays? What is it? Let me see it.
It was good. We actually went up to Colorado, visit with my wife's family up there, and it was kind of nice to have the whole family. My brother-in-law just got married about a year ago, so it's the first time I actually got to meet my sister-in-law. Uh-huh. And so was able to do that, had a good time with that. Colorado was actually really nice. The weather was really good. I think it was like the lowest it got was 48 degrees.
Wow.
For what we were expecting, that was actually kind of nice. And also did help out that we didn't get stuck in Colorado with bad weather and stuff like that. They're actually supposed to get the bad weather this week. It was nice. We went up there. We got to go to Colorado Springs. We got there on a Saturday. Did some exploring and family things on Sunday. So we went to like Shields and we went to like this consignment store. It's kind of like a farmer's market almost.
Yeah, love those stores, yeah.
But the thing is, where there is a farmer's market, you go to the different booths, you pick up what you want, like you're in a normal store, and you take it up to the front, and when they scan it, it immediately goes to the people.
Right, there's some kind of code on it, or
and it sends the money to that person and stuff like that.
It
was really neat.
I love stores like that.
Yeah, I found it really neat. It was cool. We picked up some stuff. I have like it kind of looks like a Frankenstein gingerbread cutout because they made it with electric. I forget. My wife calls it like a Lichtenberg or Liechtenstein or something like that.
Liechtenstein?
It's where you burn the wood using electrical currents, and so it looks like lightning is driven through.
Yes.
And
yes.
so I have a gingerbread of that we're going to be using for Christmas. Cool. Yeah, it was really neat. I'll show it to you when we get done with the podcast because it's up on the bookcase. Yeah. It's really neat looking. And so, yeah, it was really fun. We had a good time up there. I was able to actually go to a board game shop up there. Mentioned it to you. I was able to get myself a Christmas present while there because there's been a game I've been looking forward for since 2021 when it first came out. It's called Stardew Valley, the board game. I've been looking forward to for this game for ages. It keeps selling out and stuff like that. I went in there and I grabbed a copy. I saw it and I'm like, my wife's like, I didn't get it to you because I couldn't find it and I was looking for it. So grab it while you're here because she's into Stardew Valley and stuff like that. So she wants to play the board game. So I'm like, okay, I grabbed it and I picked up your game for your payment for helping take care of our dogs.
Appreciate you.
And then because you told me one point like you don't want to accept money, but you're more than happy to accept games as.
And I don't remember saying that, but I will accept games. Yes,
yeah, you said that last
time. Board games are a valid form of currency in my life. Yes.
So I was like, okay, so he won't accept the money. I'll go grab the game and stuff like that. Because you're paying me to play with your dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you told me. And I'm like, no, it's fine. You're still coming over, taking care of the dog, spinning gas. I'll get you board games. I know that's how to get to you. And so we did that, but we went to Gamer Havens and saw that, and it was really, really cool. Picked up Stardew Valley. My wife was excited. And in fact, I was going to text the group because there was another copy there. And be like, hey, there's another copy of Stardew Valley because I know our friend Dom was looking for it. You might have picked it up for your son if you had the opportunity. But literally when I picked it up, one person that followed me right into the store because we got their ad opening, they grabbed it too. So like they had a case of them. They had 6 games, and they only had those 2 left, and they immediately sold out. They got them like right before the weekend of Christmas, and immediately sold out of 6 games.
Yep.
So that was crazy.
Good results.
Yeah, and then we went downtown. Actually, picked up going to a comic book store in downtown Colorado Springs, which was pretty neat. Picked up a comic that I've been wanting to read based on a board game that I own, haven't played yet. Mind Management, and my God, that comic is really good.
Is it?
It is cool. Really, really good. So
I like the art style on it.
Yeah, it's really cool. Neat. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool. Christmas, fun, very fun. Yeah. But with that being said, we're starting the new year.
That's right.
Now let's get into the funness of it. Mind you, we do have an announcement to make. We have a special giveaway.
That's right. You have a chance to win one of these 2 copies. We're giving away both of them, sealed copies of this nifty little card game called Hit Me by Thing 12 Games. Listeners of the podcast will know how biased I am when I tell you how good this game is. This is designed by yours truly. Hit Me. This is like blackjack, except instead of pressing your luck for money, you're punching each other in the face. That's what this is. It's a press your luck party game. We are all superheroes in the city of Brawlopolis. Nobody knows why the brawl started, but we're going to end it. Last person standing wins. That's how the game works.
And as always, to enter, we're giving away 2 copies. Continental USA, again, sorry about that. We're looking into somewhere down the line to give away to Canada, but it's just a little tricky with... especially with everything that's going on right now. So, Continental USA, the way you can enter is subscribe to us or follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube. That gets you copies. Follow us on Instagram. Not copies, entries. And then if you subscribe to us on Twitch, which is $5, not required, but very helpful, you get 3 extra entries. Yep. And also, we give a code word every episode during this cycle. So the last one will be on Brainstorm, which will be at the end of January. So pay attention to that. And we will give you a code word. You enter that code word and send it to us at our email address. Put in the subject line contest. In the body, put how to contact you as well as the code phrase or word. And that gives you an entry right then and there. You have 4 chances during the week to get 4 different entries plus all the other ways we mentioned. And the big thing about it is you need to listen through the podcast because we're going to be doing our first segment and then we'll give you the code word before we start the top 8 debate.
That's right. So stay tuned. We'll give that out soon. So let's talk about today's top 8 debate. 2024 games.
Yeah.
2024 games.
This was a heck of a year.
It was.
This had
Yeah, go ahead.
This had a lot of games that I'm like, I played that. I want to play that. I want to play that one.
Right.
I want to find that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of anticipation in this. I don't know how this holds up to other years, though. I feel like it's not as strong as last year's. Last year's had some big hitters, and this was good.
This had a lot of the big hitters towards the end of the year, really.
Yeah.
So we haven't really got to
That's true. We
digest into them. Yeah.
Right.
This was actually a big year for like Euro games too. Mm-hmm. So you had some big Euro games. I'm looking at one of the honorable mentions here.
Yep.
Very unique themes on these games too. Mm-hmm. So like this one was a lot about quantity, maybe not so much about quality. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there is a lot of really good games out of this year, and some of the heavy hitters really hit at the end of the year, so that we haven't been able to play some of them. One that comes to mind is Evolution from Stefan Feld,
right?
Which is one of the games I want to try and play.
Same here.
Another one we just recently played. It's not on my what we've been playing list, but Kathmandu from Stefan Feld just came out this year. Oh, yeah. I thought that was a lovely game. I want to play it more before I have a real understanding of like how I want to judge it and stuff like that, but that one play of it I really did enjoy it.
Oh, very much.
So there's just been a lot of games that came out this year that was fantastic, but I don't know if it's going to hit as well as some of the games that 2023 came up with.
Yeah, absolutely. And also quick caveat that we'll delve more into later. We're only two people, right? And one of our game groups is
for
us, right?
Yeah.
We're two of that four people, right?
Yeah.
So it is not always a guarantee we can get to many of these games. In fact, some of your favorite games for 2024 might not even be on the list, and that's because either both of us or one of us have not played it.
Yeah.
And so keep that in mind. We always pick the top 8 of the ones that we have both played, so we can give them a sound argument.
Yeah, like my honorable mentions, all 3 of my honorable mentions, I know for a fact you haven't played.
Yeah. And I think you have.
Okay.
Yeah, you've at least played one of them for sure. I think you've played another one, and I don't think you've played this one.
Yeah, so the 3 I have on my honorable mentions, I know you haven't played because I've talked about them, and you're like, I want to try that one. I want to try that one. One of these, you're like, okay, whatever. You want to try it just because of what it's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we get into that, Daniel, what have you been playing?
So there's a couple games I want to talk about here. The one I'm going to talk about is a 2024 release. The other one I'm going to talk about is one we just did a whole cycle for. It's mass market games. And I actually really enjoyed this game. And I'm going to talk about this one first. Just because I played this over Christmas. Christmas Eve, my brother-in-law got this as one of his gifts. It is literally a mass market gift. It wasn't from me because I know better to... I want to teach people more games before I start buying them games. And so I taught them a few games while we were out there.
Right.
And I'll explain that later, maybe probably next week or something like that when we do the more what we've been playing.
Yeah.
But this one, I found it an intriguing game that just needed some tweaks. And the game is called You Laugh, You're Out. And so this one, you get a series of cards, tokens, and if the person who's got to give think like Cards Against Humanity, there's a card that tells you what you got to do. Well, that person has to act out that series.
It's like a really colorful cover.
Mm-hmm, it's like bluish.
Or it's like blue. It's from the company. Is it Buffalo?
No, it's not Buffalo. I can't remember what company it was, but it's a mass market company.
Yeah.
But it is a blue box that much, and so you get these prompts that you have to act a certain thing. So one of the cards that I got was saying that I had to pretend I'm a Tyrannosaurus Rex and I have to hunt one of the other players and act it out loud. It's group dependent. It's very group dependent. But it is one of the funniest games I've ever played throughout the year, all time. It shows you how mass market could still be fun without going over the top.
Right.
The only issue with this one is that the rules are very vague, so it needs a more refined rule set. And then also one of the things about it too is you have a stack of cards and you could just keep going through that card deck because everybody gets tokens and you're constantly handing out tokens if you laugh to the person who's acting out the scene. And then, so it's just a constant thing. And so the first person eliminated, it basically triggers the end game. But if it's a smaller group or even a large group and tokens just keep getting added here and there, it's going to be a long time before you go out. Like, I could see them implementing rules such as just one or anything like that, where you just have a certain amount of cards. Basically, everybody gets 2 or 3 times to act out, and whoever has the most tokens at the end of the game wins during that process. That, I think, would work a little bit better than someone being the first one out and stuff like that. Because it just we kept constantly getting tokens that we had to call it out, and my wife and my brother-in-law were actually tied, so they had to do a one-off, and whoever had the most tokens at the end of those rounds won the game, which turned out to be my brother-in-law.
Makes sense.
It is a good game. It is a fun game. I enjoyed my time. Again, it's one of those that it's a group dependent because a lot of the acting out and stuff like that. So this one had a lot of inside jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah, always good.
There was one scene, this first time, again, I met my sister-in-law, where she had to run around and bounce like she was a magnet being attracted to different things. She has to scream that she's a magnet the entire time. And she literally, what got me to crack, I'm like, okay, that's funny because she's smacking into the walls and stuff like that, is when she basically tackled my brother-in-law, I'm a magnet! Because he's like, oh, God, and falling over the couch. Awesome. So, yeah, it was hilarious. But all in all, it was a fun party game. And you don't have to have that gross-out humor like Cards Against Humanity and stuff like that. You can do something as simple as a charades derivative and just have fun with that. So, yeah, this is You Laugh, You're Out.
Cool. First game I want to talk about is definitely not a party game, nor is it new. Because I recently found, like, a selection of really decent games at a local thrift store. And over multiple weeks, like, they just kept adding on. And they're still adding more on.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, this is...
Yeah, you were just telling me about some right now.
Yeah, there was even more now. And so it's getting more and more surprising, like, how that's happening. Somebody's collection got cold, and I feel bad for whoever that was, right?
Yeah, or maybe they just had to... They got, like, reprints.
They cut the losses, yeah. But I got this 2-player game called Omen, A Reign of War. And I thought nothing of it at the time. In fact, I almost didn't realize that it was a game because it was on a thrift store shelf, like behind a cabinet. And so I was like, oh yeah, let me look at that. And it was cheap enough. I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. It was probably like half off or like 60% off, something like that from retail costs. And I was lucky enough because I opened it up and there was like 4 expansions with it. So like, okay, well that's awesome. Okay, but that doesn't do me any good if the game's no good, right? So I looked online, saw how to play it, and I was like, okay, well, my son really likes Radlands.
Yeah.
And this kind of had like a Radlands flavor to it. So I was like, okay, my son, come here. And so we sat down and I told him how to play, and he's like, okay, all right, sounds simple enough. And there's 5 different types of cards, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the most victory points. And the way you're going to get victory points is kind of like staging wars in 3 different cities. There's a stack of victory point tokens that are on there. Each one has about 4 or 5 tokens, and they just say 2 victory points on it. And whenever a battle happens, whoever has the most strength wins the battle, and then takes the token, right?
Yeah.
And there's 5 different types of cards. There's like treasured cards. I think they're like heroes, where they're worth a point if you have them in your hand at the end of the game, but they're super powerful, right? And so that's cool. And then there's other cards called oracles, where a lot of their abilities are powerful, but they're conditional too. Or some might have like part powerful, part conditional. When you normally flip over the top card of the communal deck, because you both share the same deck, and if it's an oracle, then that secondary effect triggers, which might be good or bad. Like that's part of the play, right? And then you have like beasts, which are like they count as 2 different characters on your side. And they're normally just big and broody, like, and there's a couple others that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, right? There's only 5. And the give and take on it is really interesting because that's one way to get points is by holding on to your treasured characters.
Okay.
The second way is by winning these battles. And the third way is heroic feats, because this is Greek god themed. And so when you do a heroic feat, like you might have to have 5 units in a single city on your turn. So when you get to that phase, if you have 5 units, you're like, there you go, I've completed this feat, flip it over, it's also worth 2 victory points. And then finally what makes it really neat is that each of the city tiles that you get that are worth 2 points, you can look at them and you can use one of them, and it lowers it down to 1 victory point, but it's an ability that you can use during your time. So there's a lot of cool give and take with this. There's some really elegant solutions. My favorite thing about this battle system, what I think is just the smartest catch-up mechanism, is if you and me are battling, what if I win the battle, I have to discard all but one of my units. You, as the loser, discard all but two of your units. Done. Super clean.
Yeah.
That's incredibly clean. That's all it is. That's how you determine. So that puts you in an advantage. That puts you, like, if you only had one unit, you don't get penalized, but you just don't get the points, right? So yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how it worked. I was really impressed by it. I want to try the expansions now. Me and my son, after we're done, we just sat back and we're like, that was cool. and it does some really cool stuff. Like,
yeah,
at the beginning of the game,
it.
you can either get coins to pay for cards or draw cards in your hand. And you can do 3 of those. So I can draw 2 cards and get 1 coin, or 2 coins and get 1 card, or whatever. But if I do all of the same, I get a bonus 4th one of that type. So if I draw 3 cards, I get a 4th card. If I get 3 coins, I get a 4th coin. It just so many smart decisions. The cards are fun. It works really well, and it's a really clean system. And it worked so well, and it didn't outstay its welcome. It's super fun, and the art is really cool, actually. So, Omen: A Reign of War. I don't know how I've never seen this game before.
I've never even heard of it.
Right, and like the art's great, the system is great. It's awesome. I was really impressed by it.
Cool. So. All right, the last game I'm going to talk about is a 2024 release, but it was such a late release. I can't really... We could put it on this list if it was high enough, but the fact of the matter is, like, I couldn't review it. I want to play it a few more times before I can, get a good grasp of how I want to review it. Sometimes I could play a game once and be like, okay, I know how I'm going to review this. Sure. This one, because of the nuances of it, I want to play a little bit more just to see how everything works properly. And this is a deck building game that I've been really looking forward to all year. First off, it's based off one of my favorite series of books by one of my favorite authors.
I know this is.
And it's made by one of my favorite designers, John DeClaire.
Yep.
So
this has been the hotness everywhere.
It was a big hotness, and again, it's because it's a not cooperative. I can't think of the term right now, but it's working between John DeClaire, who is a very well-known game designer, and a very well-known author who is like at the collaboration. That's the word I'm looking for. At the hotness right now. He is like peak of like fantasy authors right now.
Friend of the podcast, by the way.
Yeah, John DeClaire. Yep. Not the author, Brandon Sanderson.
Well, I mean, we can invite him on.
We could invite him on.
Let's throw a. He runs his own convention. I'm sure he'd be willing to listen to a podcast.
Yeah, you were shocked when you heard about that. What? That
he has his own convention.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Stephen King I get, but like Brandon Sanderson...
No, this guy has a following, dude.
Apparently, no, he's huge, apparently.
But yeah, but this game is Mistborn, the deck building game. It's one of my favorite Sanderson series. Right now, it's probably my second or third favorite of the series that I've read of his. Fantasy-wise, it's my second favorite because I'm really digging the Stormlight Archives, which I have the board game based off that in my pile of shame behind me, the Call to Adventures.
Yep. Is that Brandon Sanderson? That's not him.
Yeah, the Call to Adventures.
Is it really? Okay.
The one that is based off the Stormlight Archives, not the regular Stormlight or.
Right, but the cover, it's like 2 different colors on the box. Right?
Yes, one of them is based off of his series.
Oh, cool.
Because there's the one that's the game itself that first came out.
Yeah.
And they put a reprint to Stormlight Archive on that one.
Cool.
But the Mistborn one, it is a good deck builder. It's interesting of the different nuances this thing is. It's not an easy one. There's a little bit of complication in there. If you're looking forward to a straightforward deck builder, I wouldn't recommend this. This is kind of a next step kind of deck builder.
Yeah.
Because you have to pay attention to what metals you're burning. But you're ramping up as you're going along, and everybody's ramping up. Every turn, you get to move up 1. And then eventually... everybody's going to be able to burn more metals, and then everybody's going to get an antium. Everybody's going to get different stuff. If you're a fan of the series, I say give this game a try. If you've played deck builders before, again, it's not something I can recommend to new gamers.
No,
especially people who are coming into the hobby based off of this. I'd be like, show them Dominion, show them Ascension, show them Star Wars: The Deck Building Game, simpler deck builders.
Yep.
before you show them this one, because there's a lot of stuff where you're burning cards to use as metal, or you're using cards for their money, or you're using the cards for their power, but you need to burn the metal, but you already burnt your metal, so maybe you have to flare a metal, which means you have to reset that metal later on,
Yep.
and you can't use it again until you reset it. And you're going up tracks, or you're just straight up pummeling your opponents. And so there's different variations of how you can win this game. And I got eliminated in a 3-player game. You and Damn It Dom were duking it out. He got you close to death a couple of times, but you were able to heal it off, and you were able to win by running up all 3 tracks.
Yep.
All in all, it's a fantastic game. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. It's going to stay in my collection. 1, I'm a big fan of Brandon Sanderson. But 2, it is a fun deck builder. I really did enjoy everything about it. The artwork is fantastic. I wish the components were a little bit better. I want to say I hope they come out with like an upgrade pack.
Yeah.
I mean, the cardboard is fine, but I want to get an upgrade pack where those coins are actually metal coins, because
they're metal. They need to be metal.
It feels more thematic, but I get it. Brother-wise, keep it realistically on the cheaper side. This way, more people can buy it. I think it's like a $40, $50 game for what it is. But the card stock's okay. I wish it was a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's not too fine.
No.
But again,
it's shuffled good.
It's a bit of a nitpick because it's a deck builder. I want the cards to be thicker because they're going to hold up longer. But if it gets to the point where I just have to sleeve it, then I'll sleeve it down the road.
Yeah.
But right now, I really enjoy it. I'm glad I own it. And I know you're one of the people that you're glad you played it. You'll be willing to play it again, but you don't need to own it.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Yeah, no, it was cool. Like some of the system. I did like that each card used a different type of metal, right?
Yeah.
You can use as many of them as you want, or you can reuse one that you've already used, but you gotta, burn it or whatever it is to tinder it. I forget what the term was.
And the thing about it is, it adds deck building and it gives you multi-use cards, so I can either use it as its power, or I can use it as a metal to burn, which doesn't count against your metal burn,
right?
Because you can only use your little track of metals. And that counts against your burn, so I like that aspect of it. I thought it was really intriguing, and it's very thematic to the series.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, last game I'm going to talk about. I'm only going to talk a little bit about it, but there's a reason that I bring it up right now. And I've been playing Ticket to Ride: Legends of the West.
Oh, finally finished it, huh?
And we finished it.
Nice.
We finished it as of this last Friday.
Cool.
All 12 games. Again, I will not claim any spoilers or anything.
We're supposed to play a little bit more of it next Sunday.
Which one are you on now?
7.
7. Okay, cool. Yeah, so
I think we're going into 8.
Yeah, you're 2/3 of the way, right? Mm-hmm. And I think when you guys are done, I would love to do a review of this.
Yeah.
And spoiler review, probably. But
we'll release the videos in 2 separate aspects.
Yeah, exactly. We'll unlist the spoiler or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk that over. But, overall I had a good experience. One thing that I will say, and this doesn't give away spoilers, but I was genuinely worried because my wife had been having just a really rough time with it lately. Because she's a fiend at Ticket to Ride. I mean, just a fiend. She is so good at Ticket to Ride. It is incomparable. My mutual friend Jim, he's 50-50 on it. But he started liking the Legend of the West. And we played with a friend of ours as well. So we were all playing with us 4. All 4 of us played every game. We never played it without anybody else. And I felt so bad because my wife was just having the hardest time. She would consistently get last place every time. And she hadn't won a single game. This very last game, she not only won, she absolutely decimated us. and I don't think that justified the experience for her. But that's definitely helped soothe it a little bit because she came into the game just going, I hate this. I'm not I'm only playing this to get it done. Yeah. At this point. And I never want to force her to play a game, but she knew that it wouldn't be right if we just because there's a system in this game where if a player doesn't join in or doesn't have it or joins in later, you can actually do a system where
they're not there yet.
Where it basically it doesn't play for them, but there's a system where it'll accumulate for them.
Yeah, a catch-up mechanic almost.
Yeah, basically. And so when she played this last game, the fact that she did the pinnacle thing that it was asking you to do, and she just destroyed us, that helped out. And so that was a little gratifying. She still said, she was I'm probably never playing it again, but I'm glad like it all came together at this last one because she was getting kind of hosed on the previous one. So
Yeah.
Ticket to Ride, Legend of the West. Here's what I will say. What's your favorite Legacy game?
Right now, as of right now,
Ever.
campaign or legacy, because there is a
Legacy.
difference. Legacy, then it is Betrayal in the House on the Hill.
Betrayal House on the Hill. That's my number 2, right? And there was so much story driven in it, right?
Yeah.
And Pandemic Legacy Season 1 is my number 1. And there's so many thematic choices and time frames on it. If that's what you're looking for, Legends of the West is not that.
That, yeah.
Okay? And you going into like 8 games now, you've already seen that. It's like, yeah, you see what it's doing.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
like
the
what it's
richest
doing.
story. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's good.
But
it
yeah,
has
it's just,
fun.
it's not
But it's not
telling a
story
deep
driven.
story. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. The story it tells is fine, but it's not this rich, massively thematic experience that Betrayal gave us.
I equate it like this. Pandemic does give you a story, and it is rich and deep.
Yeah.
But it's not what the core of it is. The core is the game itself. Betrayal told the story.
Right.
Betrayal is probably the best of all the stories that I've seen in a Legacy game.
Oh, yeah.
So, Ticket to Ride is closer to the Pandemic, just not... It's more about the mechanisms of the game than it is about the story-driven. Pandemic is just slightly more story, but again, it's more mechanism. So, it's closer to Pandemic than it is to Betrayal Legacy.
It is. You're right. It absolutely is. And that's, like, the way it paired it together for me, that's why it worked for me. But, like... That's my biggest quarrel against like modern Legacy games, and I think that's a reason why a lot of people stopped playing Legacy games, is because, like, it's like, hey, you know, and this isn't, I'm not talking about Ticket to Ride per se, I'm just saying Legacy in general, is that when you go into a Legacy game and it's just like, hey, look, you go unlock this box, now it's stuff that you can do, and now it's like bigger stuff, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, how is that informing my future decisions?
Exactly.
That's just making it easier for me to do bigger stuff.
Yeah.
And plenty of reviewers are saying why like even those experiences, like Clank Legacy is a good example of that. Like it just gave you more. I felt like it never gave you anything story wise. Like nothing, like getting what I got never changed my opinion later. Right. So anyway, that's a long-winded rant that I do want to talk about Ticket to Ride Legends of the West eventually. I did thoroughly enjoy it. I don't think it's the best Legacy game out there. In fact, I'd probably put it maybe right outside top 5. But,
okay.
Yeah. So we're going to get into today's episode. Daniel 404 right now. Right. We're going to get into today's episode now. And
it's a new year.
It's a new year, right?
Not a new us.
Yeah, right. It's an older us is what it is, right? Now, we're going to get into our 2024 top 8 debate. Our top 8 debates are always fun. We do this one every month. And, man, I sure do like our debates. I don't think there'll be much contention over this one. I think this will be pretty civil. There's some that I know that you're really a big fan of, but I think you and me are pretty aligned on most of these games.
Yeah, I think so too. Actually, one of these that made our list, I was actually more I enjoyed it when we played a little bit of it, but then we got a full playthrough of it, and I actually liked it more than I thought I was going to.
Oh, okay. I'm curious to see which one that is. And, but before we get into that, Daniel, we have something we need to do real quick.
Oh, that's right. There is a giveaway going to us this week for one of these 2 copies. We'll be giving away 2 copies to 2 different people of Hit Me, which is a game designed by G.A.M.E.R.
Yep. Press your luck party game. Superheroes punching each other in the face. Love it.
Yeah, so it's going to be a fun one. Again, Think 12. This one is coming from your set of that you got.
Yep.
So thank you for that. Yep. Thank you to our audience for listening to us. And this is a nice way to celebrate a new year with your new game that came out in 2024.
That's right. Yeah.
So this is another one we're talking about a lot of the games that came out towards the back end of the year. This came out right about Black Friday.
Man, yeah, it was right at the end of November. It was really, really close. Yeah.
So with that being said, again, the ways to enter is subscribe to us on Twitter or YouTube. Sorry, YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah, we're broken right now. You follow us on Twitch. If you subscribe to us on Twitch, which is $5, you don't have to do it, but it gives you 3 additional entries. Follow us on Instagram. Those are your main ways you're going to be able to get to it. As well as if you email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com, put in the tagline contest and put in the body the code word plus how to get in contact with you. And the code word is
every day. So, again, put that into the body of that, saying contest in the subject line, everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. Again, that code word, every day.
Every day.
All right. Let's get into the honorable mentions real quick. We put the poll up on Facebook, the Board Game Revolution group on Facebook. Great community. They love board games. We love board games. We're part of that community. We love supporting them. Go check them out. Go be a partner of it. They do great stuff in there. And we always post the top 8 that we're going to be debating today for tiebreakers mainly. But we also allow people to add in their honorable mentions. Let's start by talking about the audience's honorable mentions today.
Which there is quite a bit.
Yes, there is.
That's all right. There you go.
All right, so we're going to start with Jeff adding in Middle Ages.
I heard of
Not
that
sure
one.
of it, yeah.
And the other one here was added by Robbie. He added Confusing Lands, another one I haven't heard of.
Yep, Dan. That's right.
Represent.
Added in Inferno.
That one I have heard of. This is one of those the big Euro games that I was shocked they made a board. I'm not surprised they made a board game out of this, but I was also shocked. Yeah. Cade added Black Forest, which is one I've been intrigued by.
Joe added Andromeda's Edge, which has been getting a lot of buzz lately.
Yeah, I really want to play that one.
Yeah.
Christopher added Endeavor Deep Sea, which I want to try that one. Yeah. It looks really good. Grand Gamer Guilds, and I can't remember who the other company was, worked together to make that one.
And then Dalton added Let's Go to Japan.
Fantastic game. I really enjoyed it.
I own it now. Haven't played it.
Dalton also added Arcs.
Yep. Ryan added Conservus.
Scott added Harmonies.
Another one getting a lot of praise.
Yeah, I think Damn It Dom picked it up recently.
Yep. And this next one, we're a little sad that we don't get to debate it because we haven't played it yet. Matt added Civolution.
It's one we are both intrigued for. Honestly, I can't find it anywhere. I was looking for it in the board game shop when I was over there. Couldn't find it. Either. Kevin added SETI, which is another one I'm looking forward to trying.
Chris added Ezra and
Nehemiah.
Nehemiah, thank you.
Yes, I do have that on my shelf of shame. Just haven't got it played yet because it's one of those heavier Garphill Euros. And as much as I like those, it's just I want to get more games played rather than spending it all day on that one.
Yep.
And then Paul added Fromage, which is interesting. This is the designer, Paul, who did Honey Buzz.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then Fromage, that was a game also I want to check. I actually got to see a copy of this in the wild. The Gamer Havens had it in Colorado Springs.
They had it down in El Paso as well. And
it looks interesting. I considered it.
Forgive me, I don't think I'm going to say it correctly, but Casper, I believe, is what it is. Added Minos.
Dawn of Bronze Age. Yeah, this is the newest board and dice, I think.
Might be.
Yeah, no, it is, and it looks really interesting. It's based on the Minotaur story.
Oh, cool.
Jennifer added Wormspan, which is the dragon version of Wingspan. They do change a little bit. Connie Vogelman designed this one with designing with Elizabeth Hargrave, who did the game development for it. So it's pretty good.
Andrew played Tidal Blades 2.
That one's actually quite good. I enjoyed it. We played it.
Do you think I would enjoy it?
I think you would like it more than Tidal Blades 1. It is a much better game than Tidal Blades 1, I think.
Cool.
Logan added Slay the Spire. This one I've been intrigued with.
Yeah, I've been wanting to play it. It's been so hot lately. All right, Nathan added Stone Spire Architects.
Stone Spine
Architects, my apologies.
It's literally right behind me, and that's where you get that little guy up in the top by the calendar. He's from there too. I actually really enjoyed this game. It was on my short list of honorable mentions.
Yeah, you played more 2024 than I have, apparently.
Sylvia added Unconscious Minds, which is another fantastic game from 2024. Yeah.
Curtis added Landmarks, nifty little game from Floodgate.
Yeah, we can say we played this, but not really because we played a prototype version. Yeah. It was really interesting. I liked what it was doing, but I wanted to play a final copy of it.
Yep. Agreed.
Nunez added Inventions, Evolution of Ideas. I've heard of it, but I've never really looked into it.
Erica added Explorers of Navoria, which I do not know anything about.
Yeah, I've heard about it. It looks really interesting. I know it made a few people's top 10 of the year list. It has some interesting mechanism because it plays in 2 parts.
Oh, okay.
So you have to choose I think it's a token, and it allows you to choose it and get an action based on that token. And then the other token you have to put on the board, and then later on when you're playing on the board, you get to use the action from the board.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So yeah, it looks really neat what it does. Todd added a Daitoshi, which is a heavy Divere game. I've heard really good things about, but it's heavy from my understanding.
Yep. Jessica added Caution Signs, which
I'm a fan of. I played this actually over Christmas, and it went down really well. Kenny added Skyrise. I've seen it, haven't played it.
Yep. Joanna added Nova Roma, which you have played.
It's fantastic. I do enjoy it. Alex added Rise and Fall. Not sure about that one.
Yep. Jackie added Bomb Busters.
That one is intriguing to me.
Praise,
yeah, I want to try that one because it's a cooperative deduction, but timed.
Yeah.
So it looks good. Jeff added Castle Combo. This was actually a Christmas gift to my from my wife, so I haven't played it yet, but I'm about to get it played soon.
Well, let's just pause the con. Derek added Wondrous Creatures.
Looks interesting. Don't know too much about it. I just know it came out recently.
Yeah.
People were getting the Kickstarter from it. Cohen added Heroes of the Sanctum.
Bill added Lord of the Rings Duel.
Another one that I own, just haven't played yet.
And the highest ranked on Board Game Geek currently.
Currently, yeah.
For this year.
And then Shannon added Castellans. Haven't played that one, so I don't know anything about it.
Same here. All right. So, and then Robbie added on a comment saying, I really enjoy Confusing Lands. It's a 1 to 2 player game that's similar to competitive Sprawlopolis. So that's kind of intriguing.
It's kind of intriguing.
Yeah, for a bunch.
Christopher added, added Endeavor Deep Sea, which is rich, streamlined, involved gameplay. Its engine building and game loop is what I wanted Everdell to be.
Oh, cool. Scott added Harmonies, excellent components, great thematic puzzle bringing together the environments with its creatures. The thread of the multiplayer game being fast-paced keeps it interactive yet relaxing. And so you're free to do your own thing, but beware. Coffee table footprint, solo game, easy to manage, nice chill experience, can get multiple varied plays, $30, excellent experience. And he posted a lovely picture of it.
Yeah, Bruno said he's only voted for one of the games because that's the only one he's played.
Yep, and same with Jennifer, Wormspan, because I haven't played any others and I really enjoy it.
Corey was saying he's only played Andromeda's Edge, which is awesome, but he's planning on trying SETI and Endeavor Deep Sea as they look great as well.
Yep. Erica added, Explorers of Navoria is absolutely my top pick of the year. The board is gorgeous, and I have the deluxe version, and pieces are really high quality, thick wooden pieces. I love the gameplay, and everyone I've taught it to has loved it. I've taught it 4 times already.
And then finally, Joanna just says, Nova Roma. With that being said, I mean, this was a really good year. There was a lot of good games out there. And honestly, we were talking about it at the top of the podcast. We're not sure if it's going to hit as well as some of the games of 2023 hits, but the way they're saying stuff like this, all the games they're talking about, we haven't played except for a few.
Yeah, a handful. And you've played a handful of them. I played a handful. One of them.
So it is intriguing. Again, we'll probably know more about this next year than anything else.
And also, stay tuned for next week's episode where we talk about our 2025 gaming goals, and it might make reference to some of these.
Cool. All right, with that being said, why don't we get into our honorable mention? You want to flip the coin of doom and see who's starting?
Yeah, let's do this. Here we go. I'll be starting. So, my honorable mention is a game that nobody brought up, and I just absolutely fell in love with when I played it, because it's one of the more strangely thematic games, but it's one of the few games that actually made me hungry while playing. This is Donut Shop by Jeffrey D. Allers. I really just love that. Great components, 25th century, just knocked out of the park with the beautiful production. Everything looks thematic. It's super fun puzzle, and it's a 2-level puzzle. One is putting groups together, making groups. One is boxing up the orders that you need to order. 2 different ways to score, very intriguing ways, and the drafting is super smart. You either pick one of the face-up ones, and that gives you the other one face down, or vice versa. So if I get a face-up donut tile, I get a face-down order card. If I take a face-up order card, I get a face-down donut tile. I've not seen that in many other games. If not, I can't. None come to mind. I'm sure it exists, but none come to mind. And it's so clean and it's so cool. Donut Shop, love it.
What I find weird about this one is you're the only one that really championship.
And I don't know why. Like
some people, I think it's because it's such a hit or miss game. Either people really like it or they don't. It's either
in every
an
review
8, 9, or it's a 5.
Yeah, every review I've seen has been mostly championing it. But hey, Creative Chaos,
how's it going, Crate? Yeah, I don't know, but I've seen some reviews where it doesn't score very high, and then I've seen some reviews where it's like, oh, this is a really good game, very thinky, so I'm giving it an 8.
I think what it boils down to is just that a lot of people are like, oh yeah, like it's a good game, but it's like it's not like a big hitter, right? It's just like
that. I think
a simple little family game.
The biggest complaint I've heard of it, it's so abstractive that you can put any theme on it, and it'll.
Oh man, I don't disagree with that, but it really works well with the donut.
Yeah, it works well with the donut shop, but I mean, it could be really anything from what they're saying because it's so abstractive, the theme.
Yeah, I guess.
But then again, you're not one for theme, so what do you know? As you made a superhero game.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about your first of the list and your hypothematic game.
The first on my list?
Yep.
Wormspan. It was already mentioned in the honorable mentions here. It was the first one that actually went on my list, just because I really do enjoy it. It plays different enough where you can have both Wingspan and Wormspan. Some people like it because the engine builder works a little bit better for it. And it's interesting how it works because instead of when you're playing Wingspan, you're playing cards out of your hand into one of the tableaus that it has to go into. You got to pay the resource for it.
Yeah.
This one, you have a little worker that's going to be deciding what kind of actions you're doing. You have to pay for your actions with either coins or eggs and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's very interesting on how it works. I do enjoy it a lot. And I think Connie Vogelman is a designer that is going to be on my pay attention to list. She's had 2 really good games that I've enjoyed, both from Stonemaier, Apiary, and then Wormspan. So I find it really, really fantastic what she's doing right now. And so I'm going to pay attention to other games that are coming out from her. And the art design, I really love the art design in Wormspan, the watercolor arts.
Super cool. And our good friend Ithri asked us a very philosophical question. Go ahead and read it aloud.
If every day is a good day for board games, does that mean every year is a good year for board games? As of late,
so
far, yeah. Since we've been doing the podcast, the games that come out have been really good. So
Wormspan, is that what you're at?
Wormspan as in dragon, WYRM.
Yep. Cool. All right, on to our number 2s of the year. Here we go.
All right, so my number 2 here is the heaviest game that was also mentioned on there. One of the heaviest games. Heavy for me, though, out of all the games I played this year. Also, one of the most beautiful games. In a game that I bought based on the artists, not the designers. And this is Unconscious Mind from Fantasia Games.
Yep.
Game that I've been waiting a long time for. I think I backed it about 2-3 years ago. It just took a little while to get here. But well worth it. It's about you're working as a group of therapists working with Sigmund Freud to publish their paperwork and stuff like that. And it worked really, really well for what it was doing. I enjoyed every bit of it, but man, is it heavy.
Yeah.
But the fact that I backed the game is because it had Andrew Bosley art doing the Dream World, and it had Vincent Dutray art in the real world, and it just works really well. And then, of course, you have Johnny Pack developing the game, which helped the game out a lot, too. It is a fantastic game. It is heavy. It took us about 3 hours for the first playthrough of it. But you're engaged the whole time. I love the little worker placement aspect of it where you have thought bubbles and you have to point to which action you're going to put that thought bubble up, and that means that's where you're going. And then you can increase the power of that by putting another thought bubble on top of it when you place it out there. This way you could do 2 of the action, or you could use one of your good ideas for it. So it's got a lot of moving parts on it, but it's cool. Very, very intriguing. Fantastic game. Unconscious Mind. I really, really did enjoy this.
My number 2 is a game that unfortunately just didn't get any word about it. I mean, So people talked about Donut Shop. This game, due to the circumstances, nobody talked about. And that's because the company that designed it was sold out right before this game was released. This was a Prospero Hall game that came out after they were sold. And this is called Bosa. And it's an engine building game. And it's...
Speaking of which, I just saw a game that Funko did, but I saw the Goliath tag on it now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, and fine, no big deal. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But this game was, you could tell it was a labor of love. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful, has great components, it works really well, and it's a super fun engine building game where you put down a card. You're going to be making a 4x4 grid of 16 cards. You start with one up in the top left corner. You can either put it to the right of cards that are already there or on top of a stack that you've already built out. You can only go as far as 4 cards to the right and 4 cards down. When you place down one of your cards, you do all of the actions of the card that's either in the same row or the same column. Which I know I did the hand gestures completely backwards, but you get what I mean.
Sure.
So if I put it on the 3x3 space, I can either do the 3 cards that are including that card and the ones above it, or I can do all the cards to the left and right of it and use that action for that. So you're building from the top left to the bottom right, essentially, and trying to manipulate these market goods that you're doing. There's like pottery, there's fish, and there's something else off top that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. You have a little track of how many you can hold of each of those. You're either buying them, selling them for points, manipulating other things, getting combinations, and there's also endgame scoring, which has one of the cleanest endgame conditions I've ever seen. Because part of a problem with endgame goals is when you get them at the beginning of the game, you might not know what you're going for, and you're making a really heavy decision right then and there that you don't even know that if you're going to get or not. But then the counter argument, if you get it later in the game, well then it's like, well, you didn't know to plan for it, so it's not there. And then on top of it, it's like, well, it's probably too late to switch tracks. This is really simple. You get 4 at the end of the game. You choose 2 of the 4. Nothing changes. You go for as much as you want, and at the end of the game, you choose the 2 best ones, and that scores you. How have people not done this already? That's so smart. Mm-hmm. Bosa, oh man. And it's like a $25 game. It's really inexpensive. The components are great. I love the theming on it. It's super cool engine building. Great components. Man, I wish more people talked about it. This is my number 2 honorable mention of 2024.
Going into our last ones. You flipping the coin?
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. And my last honorable mention for 2024 is a game that you and I have both played. And you actually gave me the thumbs up on it. You were like, Danny, you're going to like this. You're going to like it because we played at the convention. Or you played at the convention. I didn't play it until recently.
I didn't know this was going to make your list.
Yeah, Gnome Hollow. I'm surprised it didn't make yours yet. Yeah. Anyway, Gnome Hollow, yeah.
It didn't make my list. I'll just have, there's too many good games.
There's too many good games. Yeah, Gnome Hollow. I mean, it has everything I like about it. It's Euro, it's set collection, and it's tile laying. Oh, man. Oh, it hits. It hits good. Mm-hmm. I like the set collection. I like the tile laying. I like the
collapsing market. Huh? I love the collapsing market.
Yep, the collapsing market. That's super smart. Eventually, it just falls right off because you've done too many of them.
Yep.
I like the magnetic pieces. That's such a smart. Instead of inlaid boards, like they just straight up put magnets on it and made metal into the board. That's cool.
Yeah.
The Op did a great job on this, so bravo to them. That is Gnome Hollow. That's my number 1 honorable mention before we get into our debates.
All right, my number 1 honorable mention, I've talked about it before. It was mentioned in the chat. You mentioned the fact that I championed this game. And I just recently played it over Christmas with my in-laws.
Yeah.
It went down so well. And in fact, it brought out my nephew is very introverted. He's 14, 15, stuff like that, and he's playing games with adults.
Yep.
And I brought this one out, and it went down so well. There was laughs, there was giggles, because how do you draw something like a deranged giraffe in 20 seconds? And so you have like these fantastic little things you have to draw, you're being warned about, and you're getting points based off if you're like almost Dixit rules. If the guesser gets everything for you, the guesser gets so many points, and then everybody gets a certain amount of points. I think it's 3 points for the people who drew. They get 3 points if the guesser got both right, and then the guesser gets 2 points for everyone they get fully correct. But if you only get one right, then the guesser gets no points, and then you get a point. or 2 points, something like that. But it's so fun. So there's some rounds where like, oh man, I'm doing really bad on this because I'm not drawing very well. But when it comes to being the guesser, I can get back into the game because I guessed right on those things. And so what happens, you're going to draw a caution card and a signs card, and that's going to tell you what you're going to draw that round. And then the person who has to be the guesser is going to say, all right, everybody ready? And then puts the timer on. You got 20 seconds to draw that. And you're just sitting there like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm like, ah. And then afterwards, you're like, man, I should have done this instead. Like, I was trying to draw a pizza box to do like a fat unicorn or a chubby unicorn. And I was trying to put a circle inside a square. I'm like, man, I should have just put a triangle in there. It would have made it so much easier. Yep. You know it was a pizza box. But 20 seconds, your brain is just fried.
Right.
And everybody I've shown it to, it's gone down well. So Caution Signs, probably my favorite game of 2024.
Wow. Goodness here. Well, so that's it for our honorable mentions. Again, put your honorable mentions down in the comments or say it in the chat. Wherever you hear our podcast, converse with us. We love to hear the feedback with that.
Yeah, so this has been a strong year. I'm getting ready to get into this top 8 debate, so let's talk about it. First off, how do we do it?
That's right. So we take the top 8 games on Board Game Geek. If you're not familiar with Board Game Geek, how did you find our podcast? Really, I mean, I'm curious. But either way, BoardGameGeek.com. It's the best place to find board game related information. They rank pretty much every board game that's in existence.
Mm-hmm.
If it's up here on the shelf, it's on that website, right? There's a database for it. And so we took all of the games from 2024. We ranked them. We took the top 8 games that Daniel and I have both played from their rankings, and we put them seated in our top 8 debate. It's important that we both played it because then we can each argue for either side. And even though there are some games that you love that you've played and games that I've loved that I played, if we haven't both played it, we can't consistently argue it. We tried that our first few times. It didn't work
very well, yeah.
But now it's more fair. And then we also have our 5 gamer criteria, which are
game immersion, which is the game fun to lose, player interaction, or memorable moments. So they each have 3 sub-criteria. You also have art and production, which is talking about the art, the pieces and components, and the graphic design. You have the meaningful choice, impact on other players, depth, strategy, tactics, or skill, and do arbitrary choices or AP make a negative impact on gameplay. And you have ease of play, which is simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism, the likelihood to get to the table, i.e. through the mechanism or theme, and is it easy to learn, understand, and or teach. And then finally, the R, replay value, length of time, scaling well, minimum number of plays for the full experience, and the expandability, which includes already existing expansions, up to 1 possible future expansions, or expansions that are confirmed by the designer or publisher. And this is going to be a little tricky on this one. I think there's a couple that have expansions, but when it comes to that. But when all...
It's so new, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. When all else fails, if we cannot come to a consensus on our thing, that's why it's important you go to Board Game Geek, the Facebook Board Game Revolution, where we put our poll. The fan vote moves on. The highest vote winner goes on. That's
right. Creative Chaos, also known as G.A.M.E.R. G.A.M.E.R. That's our acronym. If you didn't notice, we're very proud of that. It took us 5 years.
5 years.
But we're very proud of that. All right. So shall we get into today's debate?
Debate, yeah. So why don't we talk about the seedings first? We haven't.
We should talk about we haven't talked about what the games are.
Woo! We took a week off, and so as you can tell,
well, I know. Normally it's because of me that we take the week off.
Yeah, this time it was me because I was out of town.
Yep, right.
That and Christmas because we would have recorded like Christmas Eve or something like that.
Oh my goodness. So we're going to talk about our debates. Our first one is number 1 seed, Windmill Valley.
Going up against the 8 seed, Harvest.
Our number 2 seed, Gloomhaven, Buttons and Bugs.
Going up against the 7 seed, Courtesans, or what did you call it?
Courtesians, apparently is how I can't spell. Our number 3 seed, Captain Flip.
Going up against our number 6 seed, River Valley Glasswork.
And our number 4 seed, The Gang.
Going up against our number 5 seed, Cities.
Very good.
And I noticed a trend on our top 8 here on this one. A lot of the games that risen to the top and was easier for us to seed are very simple games. Yeah. We've talked about some heavy games. I think the heaviest game on our list here is the number
Harvest.
1 seed.
Harvest.
Oh, and Harvest is not that heavy compared to Windmill Valley.
I'd say
Harvest is
same,
straightforward worker placement with a little bit of nuances because you have the different powers, but it was much simpler to get than trying to figure out how the stupid little water thing worked in Windmill Valley,
Sure.
or a whole section you and me ignored because we didn't want to mess with that.
Yeah, we just didn't want to figure out how it works. You're like, yeah, it'll be fine.
But yeah. So other than that, this is some of these are quite simple, and I enjoyed every single one of these games. One of these was a Spiel des Arts nominee.
That's right.
Did they win it?
No, it did not.
It did not win it, but it was our pick to win it, but it didn't win that one.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, the Sky Team won it.
Sky Team won it. Yeah, that's right.
All right, cool. So every round, we're gonna pick our 2 seeds. We'll flip the coin of doom. Daniel will pull from the cup of doom. That'll see who argues first. Are you ready, Daniel?
I am ready.
For our first round, here we go. Boom.
I will be starting, and I get Windmill Valley.
You got it.
So I get the number 1 seed. Quite simply, one of the most interesting games we played this year.
Yeah.
I love the mechanism. It's so familiar, yet so distinct.
Right.
And different than we've ever played before. It's not getting easy to play, let me tell you that.
No.
That much.
No.
For what I said in the very beginning of it, when we're talking about Windmill Valley being one of the harder games, you and me just ignored a section of it because we're like, I just don't want to play with that because it's confusing and it's the market system.
Sure.
I put out my windmills. I was using special powers to just chunk my windmills. I was planting my tulips and everything. That was fine. I was able to win the game just by concentrating on certain things, whereas our friend Dammit Dom was a jack of all trades and stuff like that. So yeah, easy play. Not doing that. But for me, this one...
That's comparing it to Harvest.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it, but it's still... worker placement is more straightforward than some of the stuff that you have to do in here.
Agreed.
Are you raising this to do this, or are you lowering this to get these coins and stuff like that? There's a lot of moving parts, literally too, in Windmill Valley too. But I think Windmill Valley moves on. I do enjoy the game a lot. Art and production is where I think it shines really, because those wheels, other than the fact that yours were a little misaligned, and that's...
Oh, yeah, and that was an easy fix.
Yeah, it was an easy fix. Those wheels were really, really neat how they worked.
They're dual layered.
Yeah, they're dual layered, and then the board itself was really good. The windmills were working really well, and especially if you get the new upgrade pack for it, that's really cool. They did announce an expansion for it that's coming out pretty soon. And it really strived, and remember how I was talking about Connie Vogelman becoming one of those designers that are on my list that I'm paying attention to? Danny Garcia is another one. I really enjoyed my play of Barcelona, and I've really enjoyed my play of this one. I got Arboretum that I want to get played because his style is very unique. And I really do enjoy it. So for me, the game immersion aspect of it, I think is slightly better in Windmill Valley, even though it's very mechanistic compared to Harvest. Harvest is just... It's a straightforward worker placement where I don't really feel like I'm a farmer, but I kind of do. But you're playing like almost an Uwe Rosenberg style thing where I'm doing the polynomial thing and trying to get my garden to fit properly. I think the art and production is just better in Windmill Valley. Board and Dice just really know how to design, especially when it's just straight cardboard too. Yeah. The meaningful choice aspect of it, I just think there was a lot of moving parts where you can be a jack of all trades and still compete. Or with me, I just mastered certain things and I just left it there and was able to win. But I mean, you weren't that far behind when you were working on just your stuff too. So there's a nice little spread where it was pretty close for everybody. Again, not giving easy play to Windmill Valley. It is probably by far the hardest game to learn on this list because of just a lot of the moving part aspect of it. And the replay value, both games can be very long. We played Harvest in about an hour and a half, and our 3-player game of Windmill Valley was actually roughly an hour with the teach. I think it was just slightly over an hour. The minimum number of plays of the full experience, there's some variation for both games depending on what's coming up and stuff like that. Just like the special powers you start with, just changes in Windmill Valley. And again, there is an expansion that has been announced for Windmill Valley. So I think Windmill Valley goes on, but why don't you talk about Harvest?
All right, so Harvest, I don't totally disagree with you on art and production, but the thing is, There's very few companies like Keymaster Games that could really rival art and production for a Euro. The thematic nature of how they put the art, the way that everything looks like it's like straight out of Bernstein Bears, right? It's all there's tans and oranges.
You mean Berenstain?
Berenstain Bears, yes. Like everything has like that tan and that light orange and it's fall colors, and it really comes through. There's very, very like friendly characters in it. It's a beautiful production. Keymaster Games, I think.
Oh no, they did a good job. I'm not denying
they're
that.
both like out of all of these games. Yeah, I want to say these are probably the two best looking games, and that we have a lot of good looking games.
There's a lot of good looking ones here.
But I mean, Keymaster I think hits out of the park, so I wouldn't give it personally art and production for myself. I don't think it was as good, but and besides, ease of play, yeah, I would give Harvest 2. One of the funniest things though is that you have a poop track. You have a poop track in Harvest, which is hilarious because you can do fertilizer. Nobody's calling it fertilizer. Let's be real. It's a poop track. You have a little poop that you move up. That's awesome. And it's hilarious when you get to use it. I like the bidding system. I like how you could take a better action, but it'll cost you more money. Or you can take a less better action, but it might even return money for it.
Yes and no.
Or less of the action.
It's just where you go, you either pay more or you get a reward.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Kind of like viticulture.
Like, yeah, you have a lot of sway into it, and you could go like straight down the middle, or you can vary. You can be like, oh, I really want to try this one, but then now I have to like go kind of like a sad production over here, right? There's a lot of cool choices with it. Beautiful production.
My flaw with Harvest, and it's nothing to do with Keymaster and stuff like that. It's just because they're Harvest colors. I struggled with a lot of it. Because of my color blindness.
And that's fair. But here's the thing: like these two games represent the same spot in my mind. They're both like a farming thing. They're both like a kind of right.
Yeah.
Farming, right? They're both a Euro game that has
one is historically accurate. One is animals.
One is animals. Yeah, sure. Which I mean, the characters in there are great, though, right? The anthropomorphic animals, those are hilarious. And it does one of my favorite things I'd love to see in games is that like you have your board made up of these forest tiles and you have to deforest it to do it, but that puts a new building into the market. That's such a cool system.
That's a neat system.
I've always enjoyed that when I see that. Where the card or the token that you're removing represents something that can happen as a ever changing market. There's a lot of cool things at it and a lot of charming parts of it. I am a 50-50 with it. The only thing I didn't like about Windmill Valley, and the honest only thing I didn't like about it, was the fact that you could legitimately completely ignore an action. One of your options, you could just flat out like, I'm just not doing this ever in the game and still have a fighting chance.
I like stuff like that.
I'm okay with it
because it's a point salad kind of system.
Yeah, and that's
so
fine.
you're saying you're arguing against Stefan Feld stuff.
No, because he actually complements variety as well. So like rewarding it to do it. Not as much. No, like we had just as much of a chance winning focusing on one thing versus not diverse. It doesn't reward you for diversifying. It rewards you for honing in. Which and that there's a time and a place for that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Yes, he is. That's exactly what he's saying.
No, I'm just saying compared between the two. I felt that all of the action spaces were incredibly important in Harvest versus where that one spot, and you said it as well, that we just flat out ignored it and it didn't hinder us, which is fine if that's what you're looking for. But that wasn't what I was looking for. And that's why I was like, that was the one.
Yeah, I don't care about diversifying. And honestly, in Harvest too, I did exactly what Dom did in Windmill Valley in Harvest, and I was a jack of all trades, and I lost the game miserably because... Again, it's a game that forces you to if you diversify, you're going to hurt yourself. You need to functionality on some stuff and not everything. Because you can't be a jack of all trades, or else you're not going to get the points that you really need.
Yeah.
And so
these are two comparable enough games where I think that if you like one, you'll like the other.
Yeah, I think
it's
so
very
too.
likely. So in my mind, it doesn't matter which one moves on. To be honest, in my mind, it really doesn't matter. You could flip a coin what heads.
So what he's
one,
saying is he
tails
hated
being-
these games, and
No. I'm just saying like they occupy the exact same space in my mind.
My thing
if
with
I want to play a Euro-y engine-esque building game that's about farming or agriculture of some kind, take your pick, right? Whichever one you want to play. I will play either of them. They were both fine. But neither of them stood out in my mind.
The thing about it, what I think, for me, is why I think I like Windmill Valley a little bit more, is just the simple fact that I've played Harvest. Harvest brought in a lot of different stuff that I've played in other games.
I see.
Windmill Valley did something that I'm like, okay, I see
that
where
gear rondo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it gave you something a little different in a different flavor. Harvest just felt like I've played this before, I've done this before, I've done this before.
Sure.
Like I said, I've mentioned viticulture and I mentioned Uwe Rosenberg. I got a lot of that feel. And it's fine that if you're taking place with all these different designers and stuff like that and pulling from it. But it just didn't feel any different than, say, like if I had to choose between like viticulture or Harvest, I'd play viticulture.
Yeah.
If I was going to play like a Uwe Rosenberg polynomial game, I'd probably play that over Harvest. It didn't give me enough. Do I want it in my collection? Maybe if I catch it on a deal. I want Windmill Valley in my collection. I did really enjoy my play. It's the other one that I want, Barcelona, I think is just a better game.
Sure, yeah. If Barcelona was on this list, I'd be fine with that one.
Yeah.
Because I agree. And you're not wrong, yeah. I mean, Harvest did seem like kind of a lot of the same, right?
Yeah.
Like it does...
It doesn't do anything new for me.
Yeah.
It was something familiar.
Markets, different things, worker placement.
Yeah.
The varying worker action spots, yeah. I don't disagree with that. Whereas, Windmill Valley was more unique.
Yeah.
To an extent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are we saying here? Are we saying Windmill Valley moves on?
I think Windmill Valley moves on, but let's do it here. Game immersion, which is more fun to lose. For me, it was Windmill Valley.
Same. It didn't matter.
Player interaction.
No,
the one part I thought I liked more about Windmill Valley was that if there's a certain action I didn't care for, like the flower thing, I could upgrade that part of the board with something better that I wanted to streamline. I did like that fact. It gave you some agencies like, I don't want to play over there.
Yeah, but that's a meaningful choice.
I know, but I'm just saying that's one thing I forgot to mention is like, if I don't want to play over there, I can just cover that up, and now I have a really good action I do want to deal with. Right. I did like that aspect of it.
I felt more thematically like player interaction. I felt like you were actually harvesting, and the fact that you had the poop cubes, I thought there was more interaction. Just had the silliness alone of it.
Yeah,
it's like this frog be pushing them poop cubes. Let me tell you.
For me, there was.
I thought that was funnier.
So yeah, I give you the player interaction part of it.
Right.
Memorable moments. I think Windmill Valley was just a little bit more because you're wanting to be the first person to drop it, the water level, to get that money, because that is a good way to get the money by dropping that water level.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's like, yes, raise it. Okay, now I'm gonna drop it. I did love that aspect of it.
That's almost a different way of doing like the same thing that Concordia does.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like, well, you can keep going.
You can keep going.
It makes it pretty nice for them. But
so I really love that aspect of it. Yeah.
But neither of them had memorable moments for me. No, yeah. So I mean, again, like
you want to call that a wash?
I'm calling it a wash. Okay. Yeah, just because like the only
2 for me, but okay.
Yep. Because. Well, it would have been Harvest for me because it was only 1 point for Harvest. The other 2 were a wash. So we'll call it a wash for sake of thing. I think art and production has to be a wash. They're both very beautiful.
Yeah.
Games.
All right.
And
so
there's no production issues on either.
Meaningful choice. I give to Windmill Valley. Just there is a lot on there.
Yeah. Sure.
Because of you're not going to really have your whole choice is I'm going to move my wheel this many times and I'm going to do one of these 2 actions unless I have the thing that says I can do both these actions. It's very simple rondel aspect of that part of it. So there wasn't a lot of arbitrary choices. Even Dammit Dom, who has a tendency to be AP, he wasn't really AP in this one.
Yeah.
Whereas Harvest did have AP.
Oh, it did?
It had massive AP. So
it really did, yeah. No, that's fine.
So for me, Windmill Valley wins.
I'm cool with
meaningful
that.
Choice. Ease of play is Harvest.
Okay. So right now we're 1-1, and replay value I think is honestly a wash. Honestly.
No, Windmill Valley gets it.
How?
It has an expansion coming out.
Does Harvest does not?
Nope. Not that I know of. I haven't seen anything posted or talked about.
Okay. Well,
So,
We'll double check that real quick, but yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then that's fair enough. Fair enough for me, because they're both the same player count, right? And they're about the same length of time, so
yeah.
we're gonna double check it real quick. We're gonna go to the boards. Why don't we take a quick little break while I do so?
All right. Thank you for the little quick pause. We looked it up, and there was a tie basically on the expandability because there is a fall festival coming out for Harvest that we didn't know about. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
With that being said, it is a wash. So 1-1, we have to go to the votes.
Yeah, that's surprising right off the bat like that.
Windmill Valley and okay, that was it. Simple enough.
Yep. Okay, so
Windmill Valley moves on.
That's right. And this is why it's so important that you vote, because if you're championing Harvest, you gotta push it, right? Or if you really love Windmill Valley, move it on. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep. So that made it real simple for us. So next up we have Gloomhaven, Button and Bugs versus Corazon. Two completely different games.
Cortesians, right?
Cortesians. All right. So I will be starting, and I get Cortesians. Corazons. So. I actually, it's funny because we were playing this game when we played it, and damn it, Don was not a fan of this game.
No.
It was one of the few games that I've ever seen him be like, conked out for it. He's like, I doesn't give me any agency or anything like that.
Yep.
I will say this. It is by far one of the more beautiful card games that you have out there. You have the
gorgeous,
the gold foil lining for like the royal aspects of it.
The canvas mat.
Yeah, the canvas mat is so good. I
Art's
love
great.
The art is fantastic.
Yep.
I love everything about this game. I'm glad I own it. I'm glad I have it in my collection. And it's very simple. You get 3 cards. You put 1 to the table, either above or below the table. 1 to your group and 1 to an opponent's group.
Mm-hmm.
And they could either be negative, positive, depending on where you're putting them on the queen's table, where they can be worth negative points for you at the end of the game or positive points. But you have special abilities with these cards. So you have assassins that can eliminate certain things. Some cards go face down in the middle of the table and nobody knows what they are. And so you have an ability where you can look at the face down cards. So it's really neat. I love every aspect of it. And the thing for me, Pandasaurus really hits with these kind of little small card games, because we've played a lot of the little small card games, and we were excited for this one, and it looked really neat, and I played it, and I'm glad I liked it. It's not my favorite out of all the little card games that they've picked up, but it's up there. I really enjoyed to play, and so for me, as much as I really do enjoy Gloomhaven, Button and Bugs, it doesn't hit a lot of the same stuff I'm looking for in Gloomhaven. It's not giving you that little smart card play, because you only have a certain amount of cards in your hands. And you play them out properly, and then they flip to their B side, and then you play those out, and then you have to do the whole loss and stuff like that. Though I like the fact that it plays so quick, and it's a timer, but you have that die roll that's deciding where everything is, whether it's going to be positive. And you can roll really bad for yourself and roll really good for the bad guys, and it only changes slightly depending on how you want to play it. But for me, I really did enjoy my play of Courtesans. My few plays of it. I've played it a handful of times this year. I've enjoyed every minute of it because it's so simple. It's a nice little breezy game. The art is fantastic. The ease of play is fantastic. And that's another thing I got to talk about Gloomhaven, Button and Bugs. That rulebook, because it's so tiny, there's certain things that they didn't put in there that you should know about. And I was like, okay, where is this thing, or where is this aspect? And it bothered me, and you have to go to like the dice tutorial or look online for certain things if you want clarification. Courtesan, it's very simple. You get 3 cards, you play 1, 1, 1. That's simple. Yep. And then at the end of the game, you score it all up. Whoever has the most points becomes a royal family and stuff like that. So I loved every aspect of that. I personally think, and this is weird for me saying, I think this moves on just for what it does, but because I think it gives you the, I don't think it gives you the, actually I think it gives you game immersion, because we're not really matching the theme anymore to it. It's more about, is the game fun to lose? Is the game fun to do different aspects, memorable moments and stuff like that? So it's like, I knew you put it there when you're doing the cortisol and stuff like that. Where it's like, oh, I rolled really bad on here. Oh, well, I guess I have to restart this mission again. I do have the foreteller for Gloomhaven, which is really cool. So check that out. The little the story stuff is really.
I'm already a fan of foreteller.
Yeah, it's one game. Yeah, it's fantastic. But yeah, I think Cortisone moves on. But let's see what you say about Gloomhaven Button and Bugs.
Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs, the highly sought after solo micro version of Gloomhaven, I guess, comes in a same dimension box, but it's only like the size of a deck box.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It's
great
really
components for that little tiny box. A lot of cards. You have dual layered boards. You have
the fact that they get all fit in that little box
without
any box lift.
And comfortably, right? And you have like 4 different miniatures. I think it's 4, right? Or is it 6?
I think it's 6.
Yeah. You have these little miniatures. And they're like miniatures, right? They're only about the size of a cube, right? But they're each of the characters that you can play with. You pick one of the characters. One thing that I really did enjoy about it is that you're playing over these number of scenarios, right? It does scale. Like, you're moving around. You have the map that you're going to be moving along with. And yes, you do roll the die for it, but it's a fate die. Mm-hmm. So it has 2 minuses, 2 blanks, and 2 pluses. And that decides whether it's a positive effect or a negative effect.
It's not a blank, 0, a circle. Circle means neutral. It's not
same
blank.
Thing.
It's not
the
a blank
same
face.
thing. Well, whatever. It's still a fate. Mathematically, it's still a fate die. It doesn't matter. But it's the same idea, right?
Yeah.
That you either have a positive, a negative, or nothing, right? And one thing I liked about it, because at first I was worried about the dice rolling. You brought it up. You were like, oh man, if I just roll bad. Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, also, one of the things that the cards do a really good job of is that you're going through the cards, and it might just completely null it, or it might like double your hit or whatever, mm-hmm. and it does some cool stuff, and they work out the math in it. The way this works is that the cube moves down a slot every time you use it, and so if you roll good and avoid the really bad effect, then you've avoided it for like 6 more turns too. Mm-hmm. And that's one cool thing about it. And there's a lot of replayability on it. Like, you can actually handicap the characters or the bad characters in order to help make up for that. If your rolling is kind of rough, you have that ability to modify it.
Yeah,
right?
make it easy, very easy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it scales really well. I mean, it doesn't scale.
How does it scale really well? It's a solo game.
What I'm saying though, like pound for pound packaging, right? It took a dungeon crawl and literally did put it in a deck box.
And it plays pretty quick.
Any other version that small I've seen. And I've played, Tiny Epic Dungeons. That's a way bigger footprint, right? It's a lot more stuff going on. And it doesn't give me the same kind of dungeon crawl feel that this does. And I love the A and B side cards. Those are fantastic. Personally, I think Gloomhaven moves on. If we're talking just as far as the experience with the gameplay, I was honestly let down by Courtesans. Like, I wasn't as upset as Dom was, but I didn't enjoy my experience playing it.
I enjoyed it. It's a simple game, and I get what it's going on.
Yeah, but I've played a lot of games that do that same idea. It's like, oh, John.
You're just mad because you were thinking about doing a game like that, and they came out with it first. You told me that.
No, that's not why. I'm saying that because I've seen other games that do that. Like, you just draw 3 cards, distribute, and then at the end of the game, it does it. It's a simple mechanism. I love it. It gets easy to play by far, and I don't know about art production. Probably actually.
Yeah, they are in production.
Yeah.
And my big gripe about the button bugs, and I get it. But it's cubes for the bad guys.
Yeah.
Compared to, I don't care I don't know how you would do it, like little standees or something like that. But
little standees.
It's a blue and purple cube, and I'm like, okay, which one is which again?
Right. Yeah. That was I've had to trade mine out.
Yeah.
And yeah, so art production, I'll give it that too. But I mean, meaningful choice is just way more in Buttons and Bugs. Replay value is Buttons and Bugs by far, right? Yeah. And the last one would be game immersion, and there was nothing thematic about Courtesans. Like, there was nothing about, like, how...
Again, we don't argue thematic in game immersion. Read what it says in the sub-criteria.
Like, what I'm saying, though, is that there's way more memorable moments in it. The game is fun to lose in Gloomhaven, Buttons and Bugs. It is not fun to lose if you're just getting hosed with what you're drawing. Like, cool, I drew 3 of the same thing that I don't need. There you go. Now I know exactly. That takes all of the meaningful choice out of it, right? There's so much involved. Yeah, I wouldn't even argue that there's more player interaction because I have more fun talking to myself in Buttons and Bugs than there was no theme. Like,
Well, seeing how the only person that likes talking to you is you.
Well, Courtesans, because of the fact that you're like putting stuff face down and you're distributing amongst the players and stuff, it actively discourages reasonable discussion. Because if I'm like, oh well, I'll just send my little person over here, and like it's just like that's not hiding my intention. That's blatantly saying it's less interactive than a solo game. As far as that is.
Yeah, see, I think,
feel like I'm dungeon crawling a little bit.
I think we're coming at this two different angles. It's like Courtesans, I do feel, I think it's a more fun game to lose because I play a lot of solo games. I own a lot of solo games.
Sure.
The fact of the matter is I also play a lot of Gloomhaven too.
Okay.
And so I'm not really getting the theme out of Button and Bugs that I got out of, say, Jaws of the Lion or Gloomhaven that I want. It's kind of a letdown for me because I play those bigger versions of it. And it's not giving me... The story is fine. The story is there.
Yeah.
But it's not giving me the same gravitas that, say, the story was from the other two games that I've already played of it.
Sure.
Where Cortisone does give me a lot of the, is the game fun to lose? Yeah, I have a good time. And it's one of those games that, it's like a pub game almost. I'm having a good time with the group of people I'm playing with, and someone's cussing me out because I gave them something that's bad, or I used my assassin to take something away from them, or make it where the assassin's now scoring them negative points for the family that they're doing by killing it off the queen's table. That kind of stuff, it does give me that, but you've only had the one play experience of it, so...
So you're discrediting my opinion on this, that's what you're saying.
I'm just saying our opinions are different.
Yeah, right. I mean, I can't give Courtesans that at all. Like, it's by far the inferior game, and Gloomhaven works, and it does what it's delivering.
No?
It promises a tiny package, a dungeon crawl, and it works, and it does it.
All right, so you're saying Gloomhaven game immersion.
Absolutely.
I'm saying Cortisone's game immersion. So we'll call that a wash right now. Art and production. I love the art style in Cortisone, but the pieces and components in graphic design is a little bit better in... pieces and components.
The art and production goes to...
Yeah, I think...
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're saying the art and production. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
because the art is good, and I love
good, the inlaid board is good, right?
But
although
I have
the mat
to say...
sucks because it's great, but because you can't flatten it.
The graphic design is really good in Button and Bugs because the cards become your gear as well, and I do like that aspect of it. Sure. So that is a smart decision. Meaningful choice, much more meaningful choice in Button Bugs.
Yeah.
So 1-to-1, ease of play. Both are very simple games in all honesty.
Oh no, Courtesan's way easier.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Draw 3 cards, put them out.
Buttons and Bugs is quite simple. The only problem with Buttons and Bugs is the damn rule book.
Yeah, it's a 40-page rule book, and it needs more. Like it's
all right. So we got 2-to-1. Replay
value,
I think, is Button and Bugs. So right now, because you and me cannot come agreement on game immersion, it has to go to the poll.
I don't understand how you think game immersion is a...
I've had good experiences with Cortisone just because you don't like it.
That blows my mind. It genuinely
I know.
does.
It blows my mind, too.
Fine.
I really do like Buttons and Bugs. I do like Gloomhaven a lot. It just doesn't give me the same feel as I get from the other games.
I want you to hear this. Daniel just said Courtesans is more of an immersive gameplay than Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. You're saying that's a quote. I just want that to be on the record.
That's fine. I'm not saying it's more immersive than Gloomhaven, which is a much better game, but Button Bugs is fine. All right, so the poll... The heck? Apparently the people agree with me.
Sure. We'll let Courtesans move on.
Wow.
You shoehorned it in.
No, I'm just thinking...
Courtesians.
Gloomhaven didn't get a single vote.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the people who are going to play Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs were already on the Gloomhaven fan base. I do think that. I think and that's a smaller market.
Yeah. My thing is, again, not a knock to it. It has a decent story to it. I've only played a few scenarios into it. I'm just not getting that same immersiveness that I got in, say, like a Final Girl or what is that other one? The one that you championed that I really enjoyed, Kinfire.
Oh yeah, Kinfire Devil was cool. Yep.
It probably didn't help that I played that in Gloomhaven Button Bugs in the same day, and I'm like, wow, this Kinfire was really good.
Kinfire's pretty dope. Yeah, it's more random, but man, it has a good feeling in it.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's just act like that didn't happen. All right, whatever. 3 versus number 6, Captain Flip versus River Valley Glassworks. You're starting us off again.
All right. God, why do you keep flipping like that? All right.
Is it because I have no taste in flipping?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
River Valley Glasswork. You don't have dexterity. You got River Valley Glasswork.
But you're arguing
first. So I get River Valley Glasswork. Yeah. That's right. You keep making me first. Okay. River Valley Glasswork is
so hateful today.
So here's my thing. I have to argue River Valley Glasswork based on what you can buy in the stores, because I have the very ultra Kickstarter version of it.
Yeah.
But what you can find in the stores is really nice too.
Sure, yeah.
For an inexpensive game too. Mm-hmm. It's what, $40? So
yeah, 40.
I really do enjoy it a lot. I haven't played as much as I would like with it. We were actually... I got to play a full game of it at the G.A.M.E.R Expo this past year. And I really enjoyed my play of it to the fact that I backed it. I really... at the G.A.M.E.R Expo, it was on Kickstarter. I backed it right then and there and really enjoyed the play of it. It's very simple. You're drafting these stones on the thing, on the river, but you have to be smart what you're drafting because they're going to be worth more points to you to the game. But if I'm starting, like, say, the blue gem and the ones, then the red gem's going to the next level and stuff like that. So I don't want to overdraft because you only get, 6 spots, if I remember correctly? And there's, 8 gems, so you kind of want to make sure you're not getting any of the gems that you don't have on your board. But you also kind of want, because they're going to be negative points at the end of the game, but you also want to kind of get a lot of, say, certain gems, because the higher on their row or column they get, the more points they're worth at the end of the game. And it's basically 18 rounds or something like that, because there's a little ramp-up point. So it plays quickly. It's very well designed. It's very well produced. I loved every minute of this, and it's one of those games that I need to show to my other game group because we haven't been able to play it there just because we haven't seen them since the end of November because illnesses and time constraint, and they're on a cruise right now, and we went out of town, so it's just I haven't been able to get to my other game group, but I really want to play more of this one. It is a fantastic game. I enjoy. It's probably, what's it going up against Captain Flip? It's probably one of the easiest games on this list. I just don't think it's easier than Captain Flip.
Yeah, it's really not.
Because all it is, you're drafting stones and you want to put them in a row and you want to be smart at how you're doing it.
Yep.
Captain Flip is you're drawing a card and then or a token and you're like, and you flip it over. Once you flip it over, you're screwed. You're stuck with it. But I find that it's weird that these two are going up to each other and they're pretty much the same type of mechanism because you're just putting tokens in a row. But you kind of want to be careful how you're leveling certain things up and stuff like that. So you want to take Grenadiers and say Captain Flip, but you don't want to take too many or else you're going to lose the game. That kind of aspect of it. Whereas you're taking so many stones, but you need to draft something very smartly or else you're going to get negative points at the end of the game. So mechanism-wise, they're pretty close. They're quite different because of the little push your luck aspect of Captain Flip. But I like both of these games, and I think they're both well done. I think Captain Flip is moving on, but River Valley Glasswork is fantastic. It's probably one of my favorite ones out of this year, out of this grouping too.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's probably my number 3 out of all these. But actually, my number 1 is Captain Flip because I adore Captain Flip.
My number 1 hasn't even come up. I think River Valley Glasswork is my number 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next bracket has my 1 and 2.
Yeah, I figured that. No, Captain Flip, I mean, oh, man, there is something to be said about making an intense press your luck mechanism with a single tile. You draw your tile, you look at the front of it that you drew.
Who's the designer of this one?
Then, I don't remember. Off the top of my head.
Is it Palomori? No.
No. Is it?
I'll look it up while
you're... double check it, yeah. But Captain Flip, you have one choice right then and there. Do you flip it over to the other side and take it as it is, or do you want whatever's on the front So if the front isn't good for you, then of course you're going to flip it. But if it's okay for you, then that's when it gets really intriguing, because then you have either a high risk, high reward on the other side. I love that flip mechanism. I think it is Palomori, is it?
It is Palomori.
Yeah,
Remo, Kanzadori, and Palomori.
Yeah. I mean, Palomori is just climbing as far as mechanisms for me.
His stuff is so simple.
Yeah.
It's like Rainer Knizia and Phil Walker Hardy.
Oh, yeah.
He strips it so down to the bones.
Absolutely. Now, I will admit, it is less strategic. By far. It is less strategic than River Valley Glassworks. River Valley Glassworks is an elegant, smart system.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It works well. And the components that they used for it, how they actually distinguish the color blindness on it. If they had a red and a green, one would be sparkly or something like that. Or they'd have different hues and different shades. They had a really smart system for making it colorblind friendly, considering they are effectively transparent plastic pieces.
Yeah.
Really smart system. I give them that. But the cartoony artwork is absolutely lovely in Captain Flip. The different boards are really replayable. I love that you have 4 different boards out of the base game alone. 9 different tiles, so effectively it's really easy to learn. It is simpler because you literally just pull a tile. Do you want it? No, I'll flip it. All right, now I put it.
Yeah.
That's the game.
Plus, it's a Spiel des Jahres, so his inherent bias is just going to come out.
There it goes. There goes the thing. Well, then, because it was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres, it's obvious that it needs to move on.
I'm not denying that fact. Game immersion, which is more fun to lose? Honestly, both of them
Captain Flip.
Both of them are really good, but yeah, I'd say Captain Flip. Player interaction. There's a little bit more in River Valley Glassworks, but not much, because you're more worried about the stuff that you're pulling out of the bag.
Nope, because then you press your luck, you can edge them to push their luck, and whenever they flip it over, that's immediately amazing.
I will agree with you on the memorable moments of Captain Flip because of that reason too. So Captain Flip gets an immersion.
Yep.
Art production, both are really good. Art's better in Captain Flip. The pieces and component, I think personally, are better in River Valley Glasswork.
I agree.
But the graphic design is much more readable in Captain Flip.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's just literally just take it and get it going.
Yeah,
the iconography
but the thing is
solid.
because of the way the different ships work too.
Yeah, that's true.
Meaningful choice.
Pretty logical.
Speaking of which, meaningful choice, I think this is River Valley Glasswork.
Yeah, I agree.
And then ease of play, Captain Flip.
Captain Flip.
Replay value.
Flip.
Both have expansions, actually.
Yes, but...
but, yeah. The length and time and scale.
Minimum number of plays,
and the full experience.
Yeah,
too,
Captain Flip is crazy fast. But they're both 2 to 4. Mm-hmm. Actually, no. River Valley Glasswork is 2 to 5.
Yeah.
But it's a lot longer. River Valley Glasswork is like 45-minute game.
Yeah, it took me about 45 minutes when I played a full 5-player version.
Which is super long.
Yeah.
But
for something as simple as
Captain
it
Flip
is.
is like 15 minutes. Yeah. It's 15-20 minutes.
Yeah,
but
so I don't disagree with you.
The 4 different boards, so that means Captain Flip moves on.
Like I said, his inherent bias.
I'm just gunning for all of my biases to go on, apparently. All right, the last one we have is the Gang versus Cities. And this is Phil Walker Harding versus...
co-design. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, it was co-design. Steve Finn. Yeah.
All right, who goes?
It was Tails.
I get Cities.
Yep.
All right, so honestly, both of these games I really do enjoy a lot. In fact, the Gang is probably one of my most played games this year. Caution Signs is getting close to it.
Yeah.
Because I have played that one quite a bit as well. But yeah, I don't know. Cities, it is by far one of the best meaningful choices in a game for as simple as it is.
Oh, yeah.
It is...
Bang for buck. It's up
there. Yeah. DeVere knocked it out of the park with the art and production in this game.
Yes,
my
and no.
issue with the graphic design a little bit. It could be more readable, but those buildings are really nice.
They should have put some iconography on the building tiles to designate which color
which is
it was.
which, yeah.
And now I get, like, you wouldn't want to reach into a bag of building tiles and feel which one is different. But that doesn't mean you couldn't have put some kind of indicator. Like,
no, I don't disagree,
that was on there. The fact that they didn't do that is awful. Anyway, continue on. I'm sorry, I had to put that out.
That's fine. I won't be able to make my argument, but okay.
I was agreeing with you.
No, I do think the production value is really good. And
yes.
DeVere knocks it out of the park usually with the production value. Which one is more fun to lose? I have to say the Gang. I really just... that one just hits like there's no tomorrow, especially for people who've played poker. And when it was described to you while we were at the Gamma Expo, and she's like, it's Texas Hold'em, deduction, co-op. And you and me both look, what? No, it hits. It works really well, especially when you add those special abilities in there. Where either if you do bad, a good thing happens for you during the next round, or if you do good, then a bad thing happens. That makes it just a little bit more intriguing aspect of it, and that's out of the box because you can add those in. I like teaching it without those. Let people, especially for people who don't know how Texas Hold'em really works and the ranking system, it just teaches you that aspect, and then put those in there because it's going to make it a little bit more intriguing. But I will not play it without those now, unless again I'm teaching the game. Art production, I think, is Cities, hands down, because it's poker cards. It's a deck of cards. I can play in fact, you played the gang with cardboard chits and a deck of cards, so it's fine. I just really love the buildings, the bag, the art design, the variabilities of the different cities and how they score. I love all that, what G.A.M.E.R did. Though the gang's poker chips are really nice, I do have one issue with them. The orange and the yellow are too close in color. I can't really tell them apart. Which one's easier to play? Ooh. I don't know. I have to come back to that one. Meaningful choice, I think, is Cities, because again, another one is like kind of this is actually a really tough one, because both of these games are inherently fantastic at what they're doing.
Right.
I don't know who's moving on, so talk about the gang. Maybe I'll agree with you on certain aspects of it, but
yeah, the gang. So like you said, it's a cooperative version of Texas Hold'em. If you know how to play Texas Hold'em, you know how to play the gang. Like really, fundamentally, you know how to play it. Now there is more to it than just that. I mean, you're playing best of 5 rounds.
Yeah.
You want to get 3 wins before you get 3 losses. Very simple. And the way you win the round is everyone after each card is flipped over, or each card is dealt. Each of the 4 phases, you're distributing chips amongst the players, trying to figure out what order, as far as the least valuable to the most valuable hand you have amongst you. Now, of course, the 5 cards that are in the middle apply to all of the players. The 2 cards that you have, specifically in your hand, that applies to only you. And so really that's the only variable of which one works better. It's a super smart system. Texas Hold'em was already a hugely popular game, and I think that this is going to bridge the gap for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Like the Crew was like this big talked about game. It was like, it's cooperative trick taking. It's like, but not everybody's a trick taker player.
A lot
of people play poker, right? And so it's a smart system, and it works really well how it works. Art and production, I actually really like the art on it. It's like an Art Deco style. All of the characters.
That's because you're a card collector too, so that really hits your.
Right. Well, I mean, I knew I was going to get it because of the cards, sure. But no, the fact that they have.
It tickles that part of your brain.
Sure. But then the penalty cards and then the character cards, those are all like very Art Deco style, almost reminiscent of like an old card game, which is super cool. Everything has that heist motif. You have a bunch of metal core plastic chips that feel weighty. They feel like the Bakelite, even though they're not clay. And it's in a beautiful glossy gold box, and they sell it for $15. Like, I will say, unheard of.
The gold glossy box is nice, but it's hard to read sometimes from a distance.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Now, with that being said, yeah, the game, the gang. Sorry, the gang it's great production. Cities is also really good, but again, yeah, they both have a slight color blindness issue. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I give it that. They both do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, either one of these games, they're just so worlds apart that it's hard to compare the two. Mm-hmm. They're both fantastic games
they're
that
great
I like
games.
a lot.
These are my top 2 out of this list.
Yeah, they're going to stay in my collection for a long time. They're awesome. So, yeah, let's break it down because we're going to have to.
As always.
Game immersion. I think game immersion is the gang.
I don't disagree with you. Because
that stand-up moment, like when even if you lose, you're like, how did you do that? How did you had a pair of pocket 2s? I had a pair of pocket 3s. How did you not know yours was worse somehow?
Exactly. You know? Because you can't explain what's in your hand. That's the big thing. It's because it's deduction. When I'm reaching for that one, that's telling me, like, I have a decent hand, but I don't have that good of a hand. Yeah. So, I don't disagree with you.
And I love it. If you play, like, entirely silent, which you can in this game, which is super fun, like, you might pick, like, the 1 star, and I'm like, give me that one. Yeah. And I hand you, like, a 3. It's like, no. No. Like, don't, it's not even comparable. Like, that's super fun. Art and production, both of them have good art. There is more issues with color blindness in Cities, just because of the nature of the game. Here's the thing, right? Like, you need the color tokens to be accurate. I would have liked them to be a little more contrasty. I agree with you with the yellow and the orange. They are too similar. But if you just put them in order, it's not a big deal, right? Whereas, like, really, if you're having red-green issues, like, that drastically affects Cities. Like,
I don't disagree with you on that.
Factor.
Yeah, so in graphic design, I give a knock to Cities on that one.
Right, but the pieces and components are
fantastic. Yeah. Comparative to because just a lot more. The card stock's really good too. That's my one thing about the game is I wish, because it is Texas Hold'em, which means these cards have to be shuffled a lot, and I know they're trying to keep the price point down. I wish the card stock was just a little bit better.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the same core as a standard deck of bicycles.
Okay.
I will be happy to double check. I don't know for sure.
It just feels thinner to me, honestly, when I'm shuffling stuff. It shuffles really well.
It's not like standard board game, like 300-pound core, like black core.
No, I don't disagree with you on that, but it just...
I would have to compare the two, but I do believe that they are almost identical. I'll double check it. But...
No, Cities is not the one that you had to help us play through stream.
Oh, God, yeah. I forget which one that one was.
I think that... Was it Raw?
Maybe.
The original version of Raw?
Yeah, it might have been.
But yeah, no, so...
Meaningful choice.
Cities.
Cities, yeah. Well, I mean, so, like, right, it's tricky. Like, how do you convey information without conveying information? And the biggest reason... And it's not a knock on the actual strategy, because I feel like it's really deep strategically on how to convey your information. How do you grab the chip faster than everybody else? Or how do you make it known how things are changing throughout the game? How do you deduce what's changing? I think that's stronger than... whereas Cities is fairly arbitrary. But what really knocks it down is that if you don't have a strong grasp of poker and you mistake a hand, like let's say you have a flush and you don't realize that a hand like a full house is more valuable than that, and you make that mistake because seemingly full houses are easier. If you make that mistake, then that can just dump the game, and that hurts. That hurts.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you on that aspect of it. I just think when it comes to the meaningful choices, because there was just a lot more choices to make, and you have to be smart about it in Cities, because if I really need a certain piece for my landscape to get like that matching landscape, maybe that's where I got to put my worker first before I can go anywhere else on the board.
Yeah.
But if I'm third in the turn, I got to make sure nobody else goes there and takes the piece that I need. It's that kind of aspect of it. So I think
we're saying the same thing in a different way. But yeah, we agree. Meaningful choice goes to Cities. Ease of play, the gang.
It's
obviously
it's poker. Most people know how to play poker.
All right, replay value, that would probably be Cities.
Yeah, I think it's Cities.
Just different city boards.
Just out of the box, the city boards, the different cards, the scoring powers, or the in-game scoring.
Yeah, what comes out when is the same thing as like, if you win or lose a round, will it give you a benefit or a detraction? So yeah, Cities moves on.
So game immersion, we said the gang. Art and production, we're saying Cities.
Yep.
Meaningful choice, Cities. Okay, yeah.
Wait, did we say for art and production for Cities?
Well, we knocked the graphic design. You like the art better in the cards, and I like the art better in Cities.
I didn't say I like the art better in the cards. I just like the Art Deco.
Oh, okay.
Style. Yeah, I didn't say it was better.
Well, anyway, Cities does move on. It won 3 of the...
Yep, Cities moves on. Cool. And that is it for our quarterfinals. A much contested quarterfinals.
You thought this was going to be simple.
You ain't making it simple, are you?
1 second,
Goodness
real quick. I have to write some stuff out. But yeah, so we had 4 eliminations, and the first one was Harvest, which had 0% of the vote when we went to it. The other one was Gloomhaven Button and Bugs, which had 0% of the vote, which shocked me. I thought it would at least have a little bit of love. River Valley Glassworks was eliminated next. It had 4%. And then finally, The Gang, which was sitting at 3%. Mind you, the top 8 that we have here are not even our best vote getters. Everything that people added to it are the best vote getters.
That's right.
So with that being said, we're moving on to the second round.
All right.
The way it's seeded, we have the number 1 seed Windmill Valley going up against the 7 seed Cortisone. Do we even need to debate this? Got it? Well, starting with me again. Okay. All right.
I mean, I'm definitely not going to write down what I think should move on.
All right. So the one I have to argue is Windmill Valley. Sorry.
Carry on.
Honestly, this one's the easiest one for me. I think Windmill Valley's moving on because I think it's got better production value than the Cortisones, though Cortisones is fantastic on the art style. Much more meaningful choice in Windmill Valley. And then there's just a lot of stuff, I think, what Windmill Valley does well, and there's some weak points in Cortisone. It just happened to go up against a game I think was weak on this list. I as much as I like Button and Bugs, it's just I feel it's the weakest game on this list. Game immersion, Windmill Valley is much more fun to lose. I don't know about the player interaction. There really not a lot of player interaction in either of these games other than the way you play cards out in Cortisones. Much more memorable moments for me in Windmill Valley. I like the production value better in Windmill Valley. Much more meaningful choice on this one's hands down. This is Windmill Valley's winning this part of it. Cortisone is much simpler. I'll give it that. In Replay Valley, we've already discussed it. It has 1 expansion coming out for Windmill Valley. Cortisones, I don't think there's an expansion in the works or even talked about. Cortisone plays quicker with a higher player count, but I think you get more bang for your buck in the minimum number of plays. So for me, Windmill Valley moves on.
Oh, okay. All right, so my argument, first off, yeah, ease of play. Pretty obvious. I would give art and production to Cortisones because the gold leaf is just absolutely beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
And Windmill Valley has some extra icons that are just a little confusing to use, yeah. And then, obviously, it is more immersive than Windmill Valley because it's more immersive than Gloomhaven. So, therefore, I think Cortisones need to move on.
Are you going to argue this properly, or is that what you're thinking? You're still salty about Gloomhaven?
Gloomhaven is more immersive
Again,
than Windmill
we don't
Valley.
argue
no,
thematic.
Hear me out. Gloomhaven is more immersive than Windmill Valley, and if Cortisones is more immersive than Gloomhaven, then therefore Cortisones is more immersive than Windmill Valley. That's transitive property. That's how it works, right? So Cortisones moves on. Mm-hmm.
This is how we're going to start the year. Got it.
Technically, we're ending the year this way. Technically.
No,
except
but this
for the podcast.
The podcast is the start of the year.
Like, honestly, though, like the only thing that I give it is ease of play, and the reason I don't give it art and production is because Windmill Valley's board sits flat. That's the only thing. I was gonna give it art and production, and I was like, nope, the board sits flat on Windmill Valley. Never mind, it doesn't even have that. No, I mean, honestly, like, there's... Other than the technicality of ease of play, like, Windmill Valley by far destroys this.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And again, you're just salty.
I am very upset about this, yes. And I will continue and I will die on this hill. They should put that on the Cortisones box. Daniel 1 from Everyday Board Games, more thematic than Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. Or more immersive. More immersive.
We do not argue theme anymore. We took it out.
Right. More immersive. It is a more immersively engaging, more player interaction, funner to lose, more memorable moments.
Well, there is more player interaction in Cortisones than Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven is a solo game. I can't play it with my wife.
There is so much better theater of the mind in Gloomhaven. I'm just saying. No, for real though, the Windmill Valley moves on. On to our next one. Captain Flip versus Cities. Now this one actually hurts.
This one does.
This one will be tricky. I'll be starting this one.
All right, you are getting. All right, you get Cities.
Okay. So because Cities is more immersive, so Cities, we've already established that both of these games are really fun, but this is a very strategic game.
Very.
It's not press your luck.
Captain Flip is not.
It's not strategic. I mean, but arguably, like, I like Steve Finn games. I do. Every game I've played from him, I've enjoyed. I really like Phil Walker Harding games. Immersiveness, this is dull. I mean, I love this game. I love Cities. It is dull. And that's because, yeah, you're building a city.
We're not arguing theme.
I'm saying immersively, it's dull. There's not memorable moments. Like, there's just like a slow, steady build until you get.
You know what my memorable moment was?
In Cities?
In Cities? This is truly the only memorable moment I really remember from Cities. Is the one rare boat or whatever that came out, and I had first choice, and everybody was mad at me at the table because I went and took that boat because I needed it. That was literally the most immersive thing.
Yeah, that was the it's like one little icon. It's like we could have got it now, but we have to.
All I heard was, "Of course you would go there for that."
Yeah. Of course, yeah. But really, like, I mean, it pales as far as game immersion.
I don't disagree with you.
It's not even close. So, and also ease of play, I think, goes to Captain Flip.
Not saying that Cities is hard. It's very intuitive.
Yeah, you choose one of 16 things.
Yeah,
but Captain Flip, you choose one and maybe the other. Right? Yeah. Oh gosh. So yeah, art and production is Cities, despite the colorblind. Unfriendliness and replay value, man. Yeah, I mean, the difference is you have 8 starting boards versus 4 starting boards in Captain Flip. So yeah, I gotta give it to Cities. I think Cities has to move on.
All right, so I have to Captain Flip is good for what it is. It's a very simplistic push your luck game with one token, which is so weird to me to call it a push your luck game. No. With one token. Yep. But it makes sense because you're like,
still holds true.
Do I want to flip this? This could possibly be a Grenadier, and that makes me lose the game if I flip a Grenadier. So I got to be careful. Yep. Or you pull that out of your bag, I'm like, nope, I'm immediately flipping this, no matter what it does. That kind of stuff is fun. So I think it's Captain Flip is more immersive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The art, both games have really decent art. I like the art a little bit more in Captain Flip, a little cartoony, but
I agree. I agree. I like the art quite a bit.
The pieces and components and the graphic design, I think, is better. Yeah, the nuance of the color blindness, it's not as bad as in most games. Like Crate was mentioning it, Cloud City, where we were struggling with that one. Blue Orange, come on, step it up. So I give art and production to Cities. Meaningful choice, Cities. Ease of play, though, Captain Flip is by far one of the easiest games on this list. Maybe except for like the gang.
No, I think it's easier than the gang because you need to know hand rankings in the gang.
That is true.
You don't in Captain Flip.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of the easiest games, if not the easiest, on this list. I think it's a fantastic game. I enjoy every minute of it. I'm never going to own it because I don't think my other group would like it too much.
Captain Flip?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not.
They
like some more oomph.
Yeah, they want more oomph and stuff like that. So, and then replay value, Cities. So, yeah, I agree with you. City moves on.
Cool.
All right, so the two eliminated this time around was Cortisones and Captain Flip. Cortisone was eliminated. It had 2% of the vote, which still shocks me. It had more votes than Gloomhaven. And then...
You were the one who voted for it, wasn't it? No.
Nope.
Admit it!
Nope, Captain
Flip. You paid your wife to vote for it. I know it!
Had 5% of the vote, which is actually one of our highest vote getters.
Well, the ones that we picked.
Well, for the one to pick. So, our highest vote getter was Andromeda's Edge at 13%, and Let's Go to Japan at 9%. Yep. There was... Harmony's at 11.
Yep.
There was 39 games or something like that on this list. We put 8.
Yep.
So, I'm telling you, 2024 was a good year. But with that being said, we are going into our final round. We have Windmill Valley going up against Cities to determine what is the game of the year. All right, so moving on here, we don't pick sides on this one. We just argue our gamer criteria. There's no flipping of the coin. There's no pulling in the thing. We just determine who is the all-out winner on this aspect. Is there anything that stands out to you? Ease of play, I think, is cities.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the first one that's obvious.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, replay value, it goes to cities as well. Because of the
out of the box,
boards.
yeah. The only thing Windmill Valley has going for it is that it does have an expansion coming out. It has the one expansion. But out of the box, you have the different boards. Mm-hmm. And then out of the box as well, you have or not out of the box. Yeah, out of the box, you have the different boards, the different variations of scoring and stuff like that. But the big thing about it too is we played a 4-player game of Cities in less time than it took us to play a 3-player game of Windmill Valley. Yes. So the length of time and scaling well was so much simpler. Yes. So I agree with you, Cities.
I just double checked that there's a number of promo tiles, but there's not currently an expansion.
Yeah.
Announced for it.
Which one has more meaningful choice? I think is Windmill Valley. That's the other one that kind of hits me. That though you do have a lot of good choices in there, I just think Windmill Valley just has that slight notch. So we'll pull that up on our criteria here.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think it does yet, but I'm not saying Cities does either. I want to break it down even further. Ease of play we have, right?
Yeah, we have ease of play and replay value went to Cities.
Okay. Both
art and production.
Man.
Game immersion and meaningful choice. Man. The G.A.M.E.R of gamer criteria here. This is the tough one. Okay, I'm going to ask you straight out. Which game is more fun to lose?
I feel like I have more of a fun time with Cities personally, but I can understand why somebody would like Windmill Valley more because they would feel more accomplished with the engine that they're building.
Yeah, see, I was going to say, for me, it's Windmill Valley just because of that. The engine, yeah.
I can see that, and that doesn't, neither of them have player interaction.
Not really, unless you're drafting something somebody else wants. But
or you're pushing up the water track, right, and dropping it down. Yeah. I don't think either of them are more fun to lose than others. I think you get a sense of building and growth throughout both of the games. Mm-hmm.
So you want to just call Game Immersion a wash?
Yeah, let's call it a wash.
All right. Art and production. Which has better art? I think Windmill Valley has the better art.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
That's me personally.
Oh man, but the cover on Cities is so good.
The cover on Cities is confusing to me.
Right, but they have the cities like on the actual tile itself.
The Windmill Valley, that's the one that draws me in, just because the art is like, okay, that's a nice looking game. But that's neither here nor there. For me, it's the cities art is just too busy for my liking.
Yeah.
I like something that's just a little bit more simplistic and telling you what it is. Yeah. Whereas that you have like the Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty over here, and then you have the Jesus Cristo or Mount Cristo up in the top corner, that kind of thing. It's a little busy for me, but so art we're just considering a wash then?
Well, there's also, if we're gonna nitpick, I do want to throw one thing that did confuse me a bit with the gears, which I love the mechanism of the 2 gears on your player board, but there was a number of times where it's like, all right, I'm gonna do. If I go this direction, then I'm doing this next space. So I would go the same direction on my other one, and then when I rotate, I'm like, oh wait, it's the other one. Oh,
yeah, I needed to go.
And I would mess up that planning. And also, they look like gears, and I said gears, and you know what I was talking about. They're supposed to be water wheels, and they don't feel like water wheels. Like they feel like gears, which is what gears do because they are gears. They're not water wheels, which is what it's supposed to be, right? Yeah. And so like. Just little nitpicks. Like I don't think that's anything to detract from. I'm just trying to bring up.
I'm talking about like the artwork. That's in graphic design, and I agree with you. The little nitpicks there, but the graphic design also has a problem in. You mentioned it all the way throughout the thing. The colorblindness. Yeah. It's much more readable, and for me, graphic design is a wash for both of them.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
So pieces and components, and here's where the tricky part is on this one. Both of them are really well produced, but you have those little buildings from Cities where
they stack really well,
and
they do exactly what
both have really good pieces of cardboard. But then You have the nice little stacking cities, but you have the really cool windmills that Windmill Valley does give you.
They both have good
that
components.
looks good on the board when you place them out on the board. And so it's
I think functionally, PC components. Let me ask you your opinion. What do you think about that cutout of the main board to put the city in so it's flush? The fact that they cut out part of the board, literally, on cities, so you could slide in the city.
I wish it was recessed, where you could just put the thing in there. The cutout bothers me a little bit.
There's something about it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one who's when I opened that up, I was like, that didn't need to be a thing.
I wish it was recessed.
And I'm cool that they did it, but
I just wish it was recessed. I get why they didn't do a recess, because it's just cost effectiveness.
Sure.
But yeah.
And they didn't just make it just a flat board. So they've spent more money to get that custom cut.
Yeah, it's just... It bothers me a little.
At what cost? No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what I think about it. Well, the fact is, Windmill Valley is a lot more of an expensive game, too.
Yeah.
And I know we don't tend to put, price in... going into our previous one where we were talking about Captain Flip and Cities, I did want to point out that they're both $30 games.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One's not like the other, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this, you have a game that's literally twice as much as Cities, and for the production, for what they did, they argue a comparably decent production. That's just G.A.M.E.R pushing it. They do a great job.
But Board and Dice have really stepped up their game.
Board and Dice is phenomenal at what they do. Yeah. Here's what I'm going to say why I think art and production should go to Windmill Valley. The fact that they took the foresight to recess the portions of the gears, not the water wheels, of course, but the gears, since you're going to be rotating it and doing that consistently, since they recessed it, that makes it negligible for the tiles. So they're not going to fall out. If you spin it too fast or bump it, it's not going to fall out.
Yeah.
That's a really important decision that they made the correct decision for. So if that's the only thing we're arguing for, I would say art and production goes to Windmill Valley.
I don't disagree with you. That is a good point.
Yeah. So we have 2 and 2?
1 and 2. Meaningful choice.
Okay. So meaningful choice.
Because game immersion was a wash.
Yeah, that's probably Windmill.
Impact on other players.
I mean, because, the market that we avoided, that's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm. That goes with
I hate that you had to put in extra discs in there. I hate that. It's like an AI player, and I'm never a fan.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that one.
That's beside the point.
And it's just the block spots is really all it is.
Yeah, sure. It's to change up the mechanism. But I feel like when games aren't streamlined enough, that takes out of the meaningful choice, right? It's if somebody has the ability to visualize all of the aspects of something that's that complex and so many moving parts, I feel like they have a distinct advantage.
I think those are always in the game, those discs, because...
No, I'm not saying that part. I'm saying, the overall game. Danny Garcia's game is not the most streamlined thing. Everything works entirely different, which is not only a blessing, it's a bane as well, right? Mm-hmm. And so the problem that I have with it is that there's so much going on that ignoring part of it or just in general, just not caring about certain parts of it, I feel like take away from an experience and take away from a lot of your choices. Minor details. But whereas the fact that everything, you're going to choose one of each of the 4 spaces, but which one do you do first for cities? It's elegant. The meaningful choice is not there for analysis paralysis. You have your choices. You know what you want to go for, you know what you would like to have, and you know what you can deal with later. You know that when you're the last person to choose on a certain section, you can leave it. All that goes to saying I don't have an opinion on either.
I was going to say, you have a long-winded answer for something that you're not saying anything.
Right. No, I'm saying that they both hit in different ways. So, tactics, strategy, and skills, I think that would go, that specific depth of tactics and skills, specifically for the tactics, cities. Impact on other players, I think there's so much loosey-goosey.
You're saying tactics cities?
Yes.
Now, see, I'm the other way. I'm Windmill Valley for a more strategic point of view. We've seen it. Damn it, Dom was going all over the place. I streamlined, was able to pick up the win.
Yeah.
I decided that was my strategy.
Won.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But you're saying...
No, you can still do that in cities as well. Because having to respond, having your backup plans is also just as huge in cities. You have to adapt, you're like, man, I really need this tile. I'm going to take it now.
Yeah.
But I would need one of these two tiles, and hopefully neither of you will get it.
Yeah, my issue with that is just because you're beholden to what comes up. And so, like, if I have to go here to get that thing, there was a point where all 4 scorecards didn't do me any good. I wasn't building blue buildings.
Sure.
I wasn't doing any of the other 2 scorecards. I wasn't building grasslands. I didn't have a choice in that matter, so I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just not even going to worry about it. I'll take whatever's left over because it was useless to me. So I had a whole section of the game being useless to me for that round.
Yeah.
Where I have to be smart of what I'm doing in Windmill Valley when it comes to the depth and strategy. I'm like, I'm not going to go play on that board. Damn it, Dom is doing really well over there. Fine, that's him. Sure. I don't really have to worry about the windmills like you guys do, trying to put them out on that board and paying the coins on that one. Because I have this special ability where I'm like, I'm just going to dump them back into the box. I don't need them anymore. So for me, that gave me much more strategy because there was points in our game of cities where I didn't have to go to 1/4 of the board.
That's because what I'm saying. But that's why you adapt to specifically go to that one. Since those are less valuable sections for you during that part of the game, that's why you're changing your tactics to strive on the ones that were really valuable to you.
But the thing is, it was beholden. It's like, I could have used scoring cards. I needed in-game scoring cards. Yeah. None of them came out that I needed.
Yeah.
So it just, and then when they did come out, I wasn't like the first player or something like that, or I was at the back end, and I know you and me were fighting over something, or me and Damn It Dom were fighting over something, and there was no way I was going to be able to get to them.
Yeah.
So it was basically an arbitrary choice for me based on turn order. And you don't get to choose turn order. It just changes every turn.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
So for me, meaningful choice goes to Windmill Valley because AP is a bit of an issue, but I'd rather deal with AP than arbitrary choice.
Yeah, well, no, I think those are the same. Like that, yeah, I think that's a wash, but impact on other players is so much more heavy in cities, right?
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's huge. Picking up the tile that they may need, that's one section of the board.
Yeah.
That's massive. I think we have to call that a wash. I really do. They're both very strong.
Yeah, I'll give you a wash. So that means Cities is the 2024 winner. 2-1.
Didn't we miss one?
No. Game Immersion was a wash. Meaningful Choice is a wash. AP Wingman Valley. Ease of Play and Replay Value Cities.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. We should repeat that here in a minute and a half.
No, we're still recording. It's fine. We can end this game. All right. So with that being said, Cities is our 2024 Game of the Year. You thought this was going to be simple. This is very contentious.
You made it that way.
No, you made it that way.
No, you made it that way.
You made it that
way.
You took it with your bias. We try to take our bias out. With that being said, thank you for Happy New Year. It was a fantastic... 2024 was just a fun year. We had a hell of a time with these games. And the fact is, like, our number 1 seed was probably halfway down the Board Game Geek. We haven't even played a lot of the games that are higher seeds. We own a lot of them.
If we did this debate again 6 months from now, who knows
where everything would lie.
How many of these would even be on the list still? Most of them wouldn't, probably.
With that being said, close us out.
All right. So we're going to thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to email us directly, remember, there's a contest going on right now. You can email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. And you can also follow us at instagram.com/everydayboardgames. And those are 2 ways to get tickets. We had a code word at the middle of our episode today. That code word is everyday. So please put that in the body along with the way to contact you. The subject line is contest. And email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. And also follow us on Instagram to get an extra ticket.
As well as and Instagram.com/everydayboardgames. All video re-uploads and reviews are found on YouTube, youtube.com/@everydayboardgames. If you like what we do, there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on the platform. Subscribe if you're not, like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject.
And you can join us on live episodes like our friends Creative Chaos and Ithri. Thank you for tuning in at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames. And make sure you follow us here so that way you get notified when we go live. Join in on a live conversation, voice your opinions on whether Daniel is wrong or right. And you can also...
I like how you pointed at yourself saying you were right. And no.
I just... hand gestures, that's all it was. And also, if you subscribe there, I know it's a financial cost. We hate to ask for that. But that just helps us host like all the podcasts and all that stuff. And pay for the hosting for that. But that gets
It's
you
not
an extra
required,
3 tickets.
but it'd be nice.
Not required to enter.
And all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms. This is under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and Apple.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.
And every year.
Happy New Year.